All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. My goodness. All right. In a world we must defend. Okay, let's see. So, I just saw the news that the voice actress who played Lilo and Chihiro in Spirited Away passed away at 35 from an illness. I don't know what it was. I don't even know. How do you say her name? DeVay Chase? Is that how you say her name? How sad. Man, you really never know. I hope her family's doing okay. That must be so hard. But there you go, a piece of our childhood. For those of us who watch Lilo and Stitch, by far, is one of the greatest Disney movies of all time. And then, of course, Spirited Away, Chihiro, Ghibli, great. So just sad. Just thought I would mention it because I just saw it. Sad, sad, sad. Rest in peace. I also, I wanted to say something that I hadn't quite planned to say, but I just had the epiphany. Hold on. Oh my gosh. I really love philosophy. Somebody on my Bert Simon channel said, "Oh, I also have existential dread autism," and I was like, existential crisis autism. I have philosophy autism, and not everybody has it, but a lot of autistic people do. It's a lot. Like, a lot of autistic people have philosophy autism, and most of them are men and they live on Reddit, but and they don't go very far with it. But it's why I love talking about these ideas. I mean, I could talk about ethics for the rest of my life. So I was, thinking to myself about the Ariana Grande conversation, and I realized why the way Chelsea talked about it, or why people are talking about it, I find it very frustrating. And I realized it's because I no longer suffer from suicidal ideations, but nothing brings them back more than someone telling me not to kill myself. I'm like, oh, don't tell me what to do. Especially in the name of caring about my feelings when you don't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, and so I realized the way that they are like, Ariana can't perform. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lie that the intrusive thoughts in my brain trigger my PDA so badly. I was like, I'm gonna starve myself just for fun now. Like, that's how my intrusive thoughts work, because my PDA is so strong. I am constantly reaching for agency. That's really what PDA is, right? A pervasive drive for autonomy. I am trying to have a choice in my life. I'm trying to have a say in my life. And so when you sit there and you talk about, in the name of helping someone, taking away their choices, I just think, no. So, whatever you're going through, I want you to choose and feel like it's a choice, even when it's not a choice. Because a lot of the pain and suffering we're going through, like, I don't choose my intrusive thoughts. I don't choose even that's why I think you're more than your thoughts, because, like, I don't always choose how my brain processes information, but I can meditate on it and introspect, which is why philosophy saved my life, because philosophy allowed me to think. And then DBT allowed me to understand my biological experience. So, I think the reason that a lot of us don't find it very helpful for people to say things like, if you really cared about Ariana, it's like when I was suicidal and I was actively trying to die, my parents would say things like, what do you have anything to be frustrated with? Your life is so good. Bah, we love you. Why would you kill yourself? Like, that's not helpful. You remember when Dr. K said, like, suicide is very logical. People have very good reasons for wanting to die. My therapist completely validated that in me too. She was like, yeah, I can see why you want to die. Your life is really hard. I was like, thank you. And she was like, now let's make it less hard. I was like, okay. Versus other people are like, your life's not even hard. And that takes away the actual struggle that we're going through, because, like, it is hard. And just because I choose to want to kill myself and you choose to smoke cigarettes because your life is hard doesn't mean we're both not self-harming. You're self-harming by drinking, staying up late, doom scrolling, and I'm self-harming by hurting myself. But it's all self-harm in the name of control, So when I see Ariana and I hear back from a lot of you in my comment sections, and you're saying that for you, some of you have eating disorders or had a relationship with an eating disorder because it feels like you're in control of something in your life. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Of course, we're like sitting here and trying to take control of our life. Our life, so much of it is controlled by other people. So it's like, okay, what are the few things I have control over? And that's why, you know, for me, philosophically speaking, what I have control over is liberating my spirit from the world's burdens and remembering that the world is just like this group of biological creatures trying to make it work. So when Chelsea Fagan says something like, nobody ever tries to look a certain way except for other people, like nobody tries to do this X, Y, Z, what she is saying is that she hasn't liberated her spirit from the opinions of others. And that's fine. I think I do take seriously the opinions of many people. I just liberate my spirit from whose opinion has to matter for the safety of my own sanity. Because if I allowed every single person into my into my brain, and they're all so confusing, like it's never going to work. That's why you have to have trusted people that you bounce ideas off of, who will hold you accountable, who will, you know, understand you, because otherwise it's very dangerous to allow, especially, so Ariana can't, for the sake of her life, allow people like Chelsea Fagan into her brain. Because like, look at the damage it's going to do. Look at the words she's going to internalize. Like I said yesterday on stream and in my video that I clipped, if people were making, if I got sick and I didn't want to share with you that I was like, I had cancer, as an example, my partner and I talk about this a lot. If I get cancer, should I tell the internet? What if I get cancer and I drop a lot of weight? That's usually a very common symptom with cancer, is you can get very, very skinny. And what if I don't want to tell you? What if I'm not ready to tell you? And then you guys start making think pieces about how I have an eating disorder. And then I'm sitting here like, this is why I said this is why we talked about Chadwick Boseman, because that's what people did to him. They said it was an eating disorder, it was all these things. And by the way, both are bad. Cancer and eating disorders are like the same thing to my brain. They're sick. But it's not that you thought I had an eating disorder that makes it worse. It's that you thought you knew what was happening. Like, how horrible. So the way I empathize with people is I really try to put myself in their shoes, and I just try to imagine how would I feel if somebody was making this content about me. And that includes the way I make videos about Chelsea or anybody else. If somebody made a video about me and was a serious YouTuber and had a good platform and had criticism of me, I would like it. You know, I even showed the other day on stream, a girl on TikTok didn't like my Chelsea opinion, made a great TikTok about it. We disagree, but it was a really good TikTok. You know, I have no problem with her disagreeing with me. She even said, I don't think Brittany knows what she's talking about. And I was like, okay. But it was like genuine. You could tell she was genuine. And even though, you know what I mean? So when we have like conversations about like, oh, well, how would you feel if somebody made this video about you? I want serious thinkers, you know, people who are really thinking. I would love them to make responses to my content. I don't want people who are just bored and trying to pay their rent to make all these random think pieces about my work when they're not even trying to understand it. Like, that's not helpful to me or them. They're not building community. So with Ariana, like, I don't think people are actually understanding her because they can't, because they're not her friend and they don't know her. But, you know, what are you going to do? Hold on. Chad says jokes about suicide. When you said, what you said reminded me of this video. Let me see.
Had no knowledge.
Wait, a man like me couldn't have no 9 lives?
Lives. Now I'm wasting 7 of them hoes, blaming myself for minor inconveniences. You said the ice cream machine down. Pow! What the fuck? I would have been in high school, murked myself 3 times. You said I can't go out? Really? After I told you where I was going? Pow! My bitch cheat on me? Pow! Oh my God, I would have been running through my shit. Can't lie, nigga.
I will just say, sometimes I am stressed enough that I do have these moments where I'm like, this minor inconvenience has forced me to have to look at the balcony once again as an opportunity to leap. But like, let me tell you, sometimes that's about feeling like you're in control of something. That's why I love those gifs that are like, anyways. Don't kill yourselves, guys. There's too much life to have, but life to live, but also no judgment if you kill yourself. Because like, who am I to judge? a girly for taking herself out in a world that you tell me is problematic and horrible. Stop telling me the world is the most horrible place and rent is high and you don't think people are going to kill themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just a ridiculous idea. What a ridiculous idea to tell me the world is ending, we're living in fascism, there's a genocide happening, you don't expect people to fucking want to die. Like, ridiculous world we live in. These adults are so unserious about our lives, you know? Okay, let me scroll up. I think your philosophy, autism saved your life in a way though, right? Sure, it did save my life, and it saved my life plus therapy, of course, right? Philosophy autism really helps explain so much about the psychology. Doesn't always help explain as well for me. Yeah, I think like this special interest in philosophy is because, especially when you're autistic and you're living through the life and everyone's telling you like, oh, this is why we're doing things. And you're like, but why? And they're like, because that's just how we do it. And I'm like, but why? And they're like, what do you mean, why? You know how many times people have told me, but Brittany, people have to do it this way. I'm like, again, I hear you, but I don't understand why. Like, I got to understand why you're doing it that way. Because like, can't we just do it this way? You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole, you know, violence, is violence really that necessary? And everyone's like, we have to be violent, not liberation politics violence. I mean, white men, you know, violence. And they're like, we have to protect our property. And I was like, do you have to shoot trespassers? Do you have to do this? Do you have to arrest all these people? Do you have to shoot at a person in a Walmart parking lot? Do you have to kill a dog whose owner is celebrating the Knicks? Do you? And they're like, you just don't understand the life of a cop. You don't understand how hard it is being a cop. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know? Chat says, I just realized this channel is also part of the culture war grift. What is that? What's the culture war grift? Doesn't that mean I should be making money? Wait, what does that mean? Are you saying I'm grifting? Only when I'm in my fucking Jeep, baby. Sorry. I'm gonna block you. Okay. I don't have a Jeep. Okay, but I don't have a Jeep. I don't have a car, actually. You know, anyways. Chat says, when are you gonna cover the Brit Muslim gang rape report inquiry? What are you even talking about, homie? Is this an Islamophobe? What is this? When are you gonna cover the Brit Muslim gang rape report inquiry? You know what? I don't know what that's about. Blocked. I don't know what that's about. Blocked. Listen, there's nothing more powerful than being blocked, you know? They said gang rape. Okay, blocked. I don't know what's going on there, you know? Have you seen Clavicular's new nose job? Yeah, I did see it. I think he looks nice. I mean, I don't know. Like, it changed his face as it was supposed to. It's also 6 to 12 months of healing. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I think Clavicular's a nice looking young man. I wish he wasn't so fucked up. You know what I mean? I wish he was like he has beauty autism. Fun fact about Clavicular. You know that he has beauty autism. So his autism says, I'm never going to make it in the world. So I'm going to make myself acceptable visually for the world. And my autism says, I'm going to tell the world to suck it. We have two different kinds of autism. My autism says, I don't have to fucking play by your rules, losers. His autism says, okay, I'll play by your rules and I'll win. Except you lose at the end. When you play society's rules, you always lose at the end because society was created by white supremacist, homophobe, transphobic, bigoted people. So he should probably get, you know, listen, a lot of autistic people, I like that they have beauty as an interest and stuff. I just wish his motivation was different, but it is what it is, you know? Chet says grape is such an annoying way to say rape. I think, again, like rape, grape, I don't care what you guys call it, SA. It's only weird because you've decided to put judgment on it. How about this? No judgment. How people speak shouldn't matter. If they say grape, great, I know what they're saying. If they say rape, great, I know what they're saying. Rape? Who fucking cares if they say grape or rape? If the context calls for it, it might actually make sense. You know, especially since YouTube censors comments, YouTube takes down monetization. I put rape in one of my titles and YouTube demonetized it. That's why we do this. So in order for us to even talk about rape, which we're going to talk about today, I'm probably going to get demonetized. You guys have to remember the world doesn't revolve around you and your sensitivities to words. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm going hard on you, but I'm sick of people just like, I'm tired of having to explain it, but I'm going to be doing it for the rest of my life. Like, why do people talk like this? I don't know. Maybe because the world fucking sucks and we're all getting censored. You know what I mean? Maybe because the government is literally censoring us. This is like when Black people were trying to say like they don't put subtitles or captions on their videos because TikTok takes them down. Like, you think you understand what's happening, but you don't even know. Like, you don't even know how many layers of censorship exist. Every time I cover Lebanon or the genocide or Gaza, anytime I even cover anything slightly controversial, a shooting, a death, demonetized, I lose money. And then they want smaller creators to keep talking about these things because they're like, why aren't you covering it? We have to pay our bills. So you're welcome, because we're talking about a lot of that shit today. And I'm probably not even going to get paid for it. So anyways, I'm just passionate. I'm passionate. Okay? I'm not angry. I'm passionate. Let's see. Chet says philosophy autism has nearly killed me due to discussing concepts like racial conflicts exist in different ways across the planet. Therefore, websites should not act like it's just America racism. I mean, racism is a global problem, right? Let me see. Clavicular should be associated with Pete Thiel. Is he doing that? Is he talking to Peter Thiel? Is that who you mean? Chet says a lot of women don't get diagnosed because it's socially acceptable to have those interests. Yeah, it's socially acceptable to have those interests, but never be taken seriously for them. Beauty, philosophy, any interest a woman has, it's a hobby for her. That's why my work is taken less seriously than all of these men, even though I have literally read more than them. I am more experienced. I have absolutely just as much credit to be up there with them but it doesn't matter. So just note to self, notice how Clavicular gets popular for being a beauty influencer in a particular way, because that's what he is basically. Notice how all these guys talk about philosophy. I was watching Alex O'Connor and these men debate on this stage. And though a lot of these men do come from academia, like, I'm telling you, even then, like, the way they talk about things is just so like winning. I was watching a debate on God and proving the existence of God. And the way these men talk is always just like, it's so unserious, bro. And I like Alex O'Connor, which, by the way, Alex O'Connor and Dr. K have both previously worked with Destiny, and they have not worked with him since. And I am hoping that they never work with him again. Otherwise, I'm going to have to write them off as abuse supporters. So I'm watching them too, you know? Let me see. He's basically associated with Teal? Really? Just that are certain values more important than others? Do you put them in a hierarchy? And if so, how? Well, values are personal. So I do have I have a hierarchy of values, but I don't have them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have them more like sets of 5 or sets of 10. It's not that literal. So I have certain values that are all like equally important. The values build the foundation for your morals and ethics. So, they're personal, they're subjective. And then you build your morals and ethics off of that. So I value freedom of choice, which is why when it comes to ethics, I don't think I can dictate if somebody's religious or not, which is why I'm not anti-theist or anti-religious. Because if I was anti-religious, right, then I would have to then, my ethics would say that society or like the world shouldn't be religious, but I don't believe that. Like, I don't. Morally, I think patriarchal religion is bad. Ethically, I think people have the right to choose. Do I think it's bad for society? It can be. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. So there's a line between like, what do I think is better for everybody? I think choice is the most important thing ever. And then secondary to choice is what you do with those choices. But choice has to be the number one value. But then what does that choice mean in terms of like limiting harm? So then it's like, okay, well, maybe choice isn't a value. Maybe it's not choice so much as like the right kind of limitation, right? Which is why I always go back to the idea of building a safety box, because maybe it's not choice that's the most valuable thing. Maybe it's the freedom to live safely, right? So then the question is, what do I value more? I probably value the freedom to live safely than I do the choice to live unsafely. because choice alone kind of indicates that any choice is better than no choice. Maybe it's the choice to live freely and safely, you know? Just as I wish you still made content about BDSM education. Why? Like, do you mean, like, why? I'm not even in the dungeon right now. I don't even hang out with BDSMers. I don't even know the rules. I haven't been reading the books. I'm not keeping up. Like, do you mean you wish I was back in the dungeon? You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I was making that content is because I was in it and I was educated and I was like one of the people, so I could make good content. You know what I mean? But I haven't been to a dungeon in like ever. You know what I mean? I mean, it's still spiritually a part of my life, but like, you know what I mean? I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know if we should ever wish that people were someone they weren't. You know, philosophically, I think it's kind of like, it's like saying, I wish you didn't grow. Or you're saying, I didn't grow, so I wish you didn't grow. I don't know what you know what I mean? Like, what could that mean, really? You know? You got to think about that. Yeah. Chet says, can you clarify what someone being or becoming a celebrity or public figure is a red flag? Well, the question is, how did you become that celebrity? Like, I used to think the only ethical billionaire was J.K. Rowling. Pause. Wait, give me a second. Let me cook, okay? I used to think the reason she was ethical was because she made her billion just selling a book. Like, isn't that the most ethical way to become a billionaire? But then I think this was the hard part, is like, what does it mean to sell that many copies of a book? And what did she have to do to sell it? She had to pretend to be a man. J.K. Rowling's publishing company called her J.K. because they didn't think Joanne, her name, would help her sell books about a main character named Harry Potter who was a boy. And she sold that book on the premise that it was written by an author who was either genderless, a man, or definitely not a middle-aged woman with kids, right? And so when you think about all the things that are tied into that, and then you think of who J.K. Rowling is now, and you're like, damn, you know? So the question is, what did you do to get famous, and what games did you play? And also, like, what was the aftermath of this person? So, like, I would worry because listen, every time I've had collaborations with creators, I had to silence a part of myself to make people comfortable. That's why I rarely collab with people. And that's why every time I collab with people now, I'm not going to stay silent, even if it means they won't collab with me in the future. But I tell you this right now, like, in order to make collaborations work, you cannot fight everybody you collab with. You have to make them feel pretty, smart, handsome, talented. You have to basically like suck up to them. And I'm saying I would love to collab with people who didn't feel they had to suck up to me to collab with me so we could disagree, but also like come from principled stance, like a principled place. I don't want to have to preface every adult conversation about our like basic civil rights or basic human rights with like, oh, but I really respect you. It's like, bro, you're literally advocating against me. I don't respect you. And I think you're dangerous. And also I don't want to have to collab with people that I think that of either, you know? So it's like, you know, so the question is, what did you do to get famous? Why do people like you so much? Why are you in every room? And how are you playing nice with these people? Because they really don't let you up there unless you network. Guys, they're not just letting anybody anywhere. So the reason I'm hesitant to trust people that are a celebrity or that famous, it means they did do something. The question, what was it? Maybe it was just silence. Maybe it was like paying the piper, you know, basically like, how many people are going to have to come out to say that I was sexually assaulted in order to get this movie role? Like, and I'm not blaming the victims. I'm blaming the industry. I'm blaming the framework. I'm holding the individuals responsible if they're perpetrators. But the reality is like there's something deeply gross about all of it, really. And it becomes like okay. I woke up this morning again. I woke up this morning and I was on TikTok and I was scrolling and literally 3 in a row TikToks. I was like, what is this? 3 in a row TikToks, women drooling over Hassan's new magazine cover for Dazed, I think. And I just sat there like, decent are men. Girls, we can see you. Thirst with your friends in private. Why are we thirsting? Because, like, again, Hassan, okay, I want to say it like this. I do sex work, right? I do like nude work. I don't allow people to talk to me on chat about that work. If somebody comes into my chat and says, oh, Britt, I just like wanked to your pic, I block them. If people come into my chat and talk about how much they love my OnlyFans, I block them. You're being inappropriate. If you like OnlyFans, great. That has nothing to do with what I'm doing here. If you become a teacher, you can't be a sex worker. There are things in place. So like when I think about Hassan being a politician or basically a celebrity in politics, I'm saying we've already done this with JFK. We've already done this with Bill Clinton. They were the fuckable presidents and they both cheated and abused women and their positions of power. Why are we doing this again with Hassanabi? Why are we doing this again with Hassan? And why is he letting us do it? Why is he encouraging it? You know what I'm saying? Haven't we done this 1,000? We should not be thirsting after in this way, creating groupies of voters who are losing their bodily autonomy. We're talking about women who are going to lose the right to have an abortion, and they're sitting here thirsting after Hassan. And I'm saying, girls, lock in, build coalition with other women, stop focusing on this man. And I'm saying, what happened to decentering men? Hello, decentering patriarchy. So when I think about celebrity, you know, I just think like, you know, and again, this goes into, oh, now I sound like a prude, or now I sound like sex negative because I'm saying we need informed consent. I'm saying, hey, stop doing this with your fans. And now people are like, oh, hey, Britt, Hassan did encourage people to send him nudes. That was actually from the New York Post. Both can be true. The New York Post sucks. They hate leftists. They're owned by Republicans. Fuck the New York Post. And Hassan did solicit nudes from his fans. Those two things exist at the same time. You guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have to decipher philosophically and within reason. We have to use discernment to say both things can be true. The United States government can have a vendetta against Hassan, which is unethical, and Hassan himself can be a bad person, or a good person engaging in bad. Do you know what I'm saying? You can be both things. And I'm saying it's the fact that, listen, and this is the problem. If people would just hold him accountable, we wouldn't have to worry about it. But no one's doing it. So I'm like, so now I'm the most annoying voice on the internet who isn't Ethan Klein, because fuck Ethan Klein. We'll talk about him later. Trying to say like, hey, maybe this isn't how it should be. Maybe we should do something different. And that's the problem. So now any woman or any person, any minority, marginalized person that genuinely has a problem just looks like an Ethan Klein stan, which isn't even true. What do I want to do with this one? Hold on. Let me move these around. Okay. Chet said that makes sense. Thank you for answering my questions. It really goes back to being less bad of a person, so it's difficult and even harder when philosophically evil world is propping you up in my mind. Mackenzie with the super chat says, thank you always for your nuanced commentary. It's very much appreciated. Love the rainbow. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Chet says, is PDA not similar to intrusive thoughts in that it's your brain doing it, but it's not necessarily what you want? Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, definitely. Like sometimes you feel it in your body where you're like, oh, like my PDA is getting triggered. You know, it could be, I think you could say it's similar to intrusive thoughts, but they're technically different because everyone can have intrusive thoughts. PDA is typically associated with autism and autism related things. Chet said, I'm getting into BDSM and I found your content very helpful and useful. Sorry for my greed, girl. Forgiven. I mean, I appreciate it. To be honest with you, like, I was thinking, I told my Discord, maybe I should make a informed consent 101 again, because I do think like people don't understand it. And I learned it so heavily from BDSM, the circles I was in, at least. I learned in progressive circles about informed consent and sober connection and checklists and saying, hey, can I talk to your former partner so I know you're safe? And can I get your STI panel? And, you know, it was just, it's not, I don't know if it's this way now, but it is typically from the friends I know who are still in the scene. Like there's still an expected checklist of things that you have to, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't help, girls, that I keep seeing women confessing to sending Hassan nudes, and that there's an AI scandal with younger people making AI porn of their friends. And I'm saying, if you're a person who's even joking, this is why I shut it down right away and I don't think it's funny. Do not send me your nudes. I don't want to see them. And if you send them to me, not only am I going to block you, but you're a bad fucking person. You're a bad fucking person. Don't send people your genitals. Now, on top of that, I cannot sit there and shame my audience if they send me nudes if I've said, do it, which Hassan has done, even jokingly. For Hassan to insinuate, oh yeah, I encourage it, send it to me, you know, like people think I'm hot. That's not, shut it down. Because you don't know how many of those people are minors, and God knows hundreds. Like, you know who Hassan has that laptop, his wanking laptop, which he thinks is funny? How about this? I haven't watched real life porn in years. Because of the amount of rape and unconsensual video that got shown through the porn industry, the fact that he has a porn computer does not look good. Because as a sex positive feminist who does believe in the porn, I don't believe in the porn industry. Because how many of the videos does he have on that computer that he hasn't vetted or thought might be rape videos or videos of underage girls, which was happening through Pornhub? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not, like, I am very far from the typical, like, well, people are in conservative bubbles, you know, trying to be like, girls can wear shorts above the knee. Hassan is like, girls can wear nothing and I respect them. And I'm sitting here like, okay, we're way past that. You're like, he's sex positive 2010 and I'm sex positive 2026. Completely, meaning I'm not going to judge you for being pro-sex. I'm going to judge you for how you consume sex. I'm going to judge you for how you get your porn. I'm going to judge you for you not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need you to be a perfect investigator of everything you see, but also, are you even asking yourself like, oh, was this consensual? Who filmed this video? How do I know this is good? You know what I'm saying? No. So all these men who brag about like, oh yeah, I love women, I hire sex workers. A lot of men hire sex workers and are abusers and rapists. Just because you hire a sex worker doesn't mean you're sex positive. A lot of misogynists hire sex workers. It's like men who go to the club. You think men who go to the strip club or men who go to the club and objectify women aren't misogynists? You know? Chat says, what is pro sex in 2026 look like? It looks like really taking into consideration, well, okay, everything is political, right? Where our food comes from is political. Where our porn comes from is political. Where our water comes from is political, right? So here we are as leftists saying everything is political, but I'm not allowed to criticize someone for where they get their porn? One of the most abused industries of all time, right? Like, can we not question, like, hey, where'd you get that video? Especially living in a world where boys apparently are putting all these nudes that girls send them in a folder to share with their buddies, which is apparently a part of, you know, never in my life has any of my friends ever said to me, I have a porn folder of all the girls who have sent me nudes. Never. But you know who has told me that? Boys. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, like you don't have a folder? I was like, no, I don't have a folder. I don't keep nudes people send me. I don't even keep nudes of people I've dated. They're gone. I don't want them anymore. We broke up. Why would I save this? This isn't for me anymore. I don't know you anymore. Why would I have this photo of you? Deleted. This is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm saying, when we make our choices to the best of our ability, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. We should question where things come from. We should question what we're consuming. You know what I mean? So yeah, when we talk about like the ethics around being sex positive or being pro sex work, it should be always about informed consent. It should always be about that. I also think it's a red flag if the guy's in his 30s and watches like porn that's like a brand new 18-year-old. You know how guys do the time clock thing? Like, she's turning 18. All those men are pedophiles. Every single one of them. Every single one of those men are pedophiles because most of them are above the age of 25. Most of them are above the age of 19. Most of them are not 18-year-olds. Most of them will be dirty old men who will be doing this. All of them. Okay? All of them. So yeah, that's my answer, you know? Like, I know it's hard. I'm not asking you to do more. I'm asking you to do less. So as an example, the way for you to watch ethical porn might not be to research. It might be to stop watching it. If you don't have the spoons to research where you're getting your porn at, you could, I don't know, not do it. Jerk off to your imagination. You know what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to do more if you don't have the spoons. I know the world is really tough. Like it's all really, you know, in a lot. Okay? So if you don't want to do the work, just do less of. That's how I think about things. Like if I don't have the time to research something, I just like, okay, I'm on this journey of should I be vegan? Should I not be vegan philosophically? Like, am I going to embody the value? Until I decide I'm plant-based. Now, some people will say, oh, I'll eat animals until I know for sure. But I heard most vegans say the biggest regret is they didn't go vegan quick enough. So until I decide I'm going to be plant-based. Because then I figure, okay, while I'm still figuring it out, I don't have to hurt animals. And then if I'm plant-based for the next 20 years, great. I still haven't eaten or consumed animals. And I'm buying cruelty-free. So, okay. Then the impact is good. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't have to own the word, like the vegan label to have that impact. So, you know what I'm saying? That's how I think to do things. But I think most people think to do things with, well, until I figure it out, I'm just going to go 100% in. I'm going to go even more hardcore. And I'm just going to keep hurting people until I figure it out. And I think, oh, I better wait. Hold on. Let me do nothing or less harm until I figure it out. You know? Chess said, as a sex worker, yes, girl, the nuance. We need that nuance. Everybody does, you know, especially heading into the future. Like, we do need it. And I think that's why, I think that's the problem is like, when I was first introducing these topics, you have to remember, when I was first introducing these topics, I felt like I was so soft. I was pulling my punches. I was like, hey, you might not know. Hey, don't do that. And they were like, don't tell me what to do. And I was like, okay, I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm just saying like, if this, then this. And then the more you guys push back on me, the more hard I have to be with you. Because we shouldn't be arguing this. Why are you arguing with me about consent? This is why I always approach people with a, hey, you might not know. Right? Like, hey, if you do not know. But if you know and you're doing it, well, you know what I'm saying? Now what are we doing here? Okay, any questions before we get started on our first few videos of the day? I dated a guy who had a porn collection. And when I was dating him, he was 12 years older. I was in my 20s. And I used to think that was really cool. Like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, porn is so interesting. But looking back, I'm like, it's a little weird. Like, I could see somebody really interested in classic vintage porn, lesbian porn, queer porn. I could see somebody collecting porn in a way that's like very much about the history. But I think it was more like a collection because I think sometimes people make collections instead of getting their life in order. You know what I mean? Like it's like sometimes like I love nude art. A lot of the art I buy is nude art, and it's always like women or something or femmes, and I love that art. But I noticed that I feel like my relationship with it is so specifically different than any of the men. Sometimes when men collect art, the way they talk about it is so gross. Like, oh, I just love this one, this painting, like her tits were so perky. And I'm like, see, why do you gotta ruin it? You know what I mean? Like, why you gotta ruin it? Why that feels like the wrong reason to have nude art in the house. And that's why conservatives go, oh, it's all perversion. This is literally why religious people think you're all fucking perverted, because I do think that a lot of us who are having a very neutral or more natural relationship with nudity, we're just like, we are the anomaly. Like, look, I don't think I'm special, but I genuinely, from the feedback I get back from people, I must be having a completely different lived experience than most of these fucking people who are men. Because what? What do you mean her tits are perky? Like, I think women look at nude art because we're like relatable, empowering. Wow, like her body is so strong. Men look at it and they're like, can I jerk off to this? Can I come to this? And I'm like, so weird, bro. So weird. When I learn which anime characters get turned into porn actresses, or which Pokemon get turned into porn. I'm always like, y'all, please. Insane. Okay. Let's see. And I do think it's partially how boys are raised in patriarchy. Don't get me wrong. I do think it's Save Vaporeon. Save Vaporeon. I really do think it's boys raised in patriarchy, though. And I think they're forced to do it. And I think they're forced, because when I was younger and I was coming out of religion and I was trying to be like cool like the boys, I would objectify girls in ways that it wasn't even real. I didn't even feel that way. But I thought I had to make jokes with the boys to be cool. And then I realized, like, oh, patriarchy really ruins people. It really ruins people. I'm telling you right now, a lot of these boys are victims of patriarchy. But the dilemma is they take it so far, and then all of a sudden they've taken it so far that I'm like, how do you come back from this? That's why I'm saying save your little boys. Save your children if you love them. Save them. Save them from going too far. The fact that Philip DeFranco covered the story, I haven't even seen it yet. But the headline was like, teens or minors making porn out of AI of their classmates. Get it? Do whatever you have to do as a parent within reason to absolutely not. Okay? Absolutely not. Ugh. Just awful. Awful. Okay, let me scroll up. Hold on. I feel like I missed some comments. Let's see. Have the talk with your kids to not share 18 plus content before they're 18, and that men have folders. Exactly. I'm terrified. I'm terrified for those kids. And also, don't do anything because you're afraid. Do it because it's the right reason. That's why I say, once those kids are 14, they got to know everything about life. Hell, maybe even middle school. Say your kids down and say, okay, you're very close to being an adult and the world is about to get really rough for you. What do you need to know? Arm your children with information, It's just horrible. It's horrible. And this sucks because people say, oh, you don't care about grown men. You don't care about grown men. And you don't care about boys either. Because if you did, you would do something about it. Okay, let's see. Chad says, my mother was sex positive usually. We had a funny censored image of a beaver that can be lifted to show the lady. My mom knew who made the art. The lady was exploited for the art. I don't even know what any of that means. Image of a beaver that can be lifted to show the woman, to show the lady? You mean a beaver that's a vagina? Or do you mean a beaver that's an animal? You know what? Never mind. Okay, let's go to our pride focused content. The only good thing that came out of the Knicks fans was all the gay kisses that apparently happened. Okay, New York. Okay. Oh, not exploited? Hold on. That comment was just too confusing for me, I think. Sometimes I start reading comments out loud and then I lose it halfway through. My bad, girls. My bad. A beaver over a beaver. I'm so confused by I got nothing. It's okay. How about this one? So a lot of people talk about Divine and how Divine inspired Ursula to come to life. And I saw this video and I thought it was interesting. So I thought we could watch some of this.
Of himself. Divine never thought of himself as a drag queen. Divine was an actor who played women's parts. But he also played men's parts. And he was a really good actor. What Divine did was Divine changed drag in a sense that up until then, it seemed like most drag was men trying to look and appear real, like real women. There's not a whole lot of real about Babs Johnson, although Divine played a woman and looked very feminine. But Divine took the glamour out of it. I mean, especially in Polyester. And then again in Hairspray. I mean, there's nothing glamorous about a house dress and your hair in pin curls. It was a different take on drag.
Not any of those performances stood the test of time, and those looks. He's permeated so much of popular culture since then. I mean, when you're the model for a Disney villain,
That's true.
Ursula in The Little Mermaid, I mean, you've made a mark.
Yes, it's really too bad Divine didn't live to see that. He would have been thrilled. Divine.
Aww, that makes me sad too that he didn't live to see that. Okay, I have a group of random TikToks to show you that I just want to talk about before we watch a longer form content. Remember how I talked about Dean Withers the other day? Okay. Well, Ashley said the same thing, and I just want somebody else to vindicate me, because that's, we need to know we're not alone. Listen, I know sometimes you watch my content and you think, oh, Brittany's just pulling shit out of her ass. I'm not alone. It's just the women who are speaking about these things, the people that are speaking about these things, we are in the marginalized communities. So we're going to be seen as like too extreme or not fair. So when I make a video about Dean Withers and everyone's like, no, not at all. Like, Dean is good. He's so he's trying. I don't know why you're so anti-Dean Withers. Brittany, hello?
Information as long as it comes. Y'all like misinformation as long as it comes from white men. That's why Dean Withers feels so comfortable getting his ass on this app, positioning himself as an expert on U.S. domestic and foreign policy, and then want to turn around and say he doesn't know what Abu Ghraib is. And y'all have a very dangerous habit of confusing confidence with competence, which is why y'all allowed an 18-year-old with a high school diploma get on here and position himself as an expert in anything. And for those of y'all that want to argue on his behalf and say that he was young and he shouldn't be expected to know this, I call bullshit, because they were still going to trial for this as of November 2024. And hell, I wasn't alive when Vietnam happened. I wasn't alive when World War II happened. I wasn't alive when World War I happened. And I wasn't alive when the Civil War happened, but I still know what the fuck went on. And yet, y'all keep questioning the credentials of black people and accusing them of using DEI to get opportunities. Dean Withers having 5.8 million followers in the platform he has, if that's not DEI, I don't know what the fuck is.
But here's the thing, and I agree with everything she just said. Here's the thing that really pisses me off about Dean Withers, and this is what I'm trying to say to you. Most of us are not willing to do what Dean does to get popular. Stay on TikTok and argue points. He knows will be popular. Goes on Jubilee, engages in platforms that are unethical, tries to be controversial. He goes into does crowd work. You know what I mean? Like, you don't understand. In a capitalist world, Dean Withers is like amazing. He's doing stuff you're not willing to do because you're lazy, versus thinking we can't do those things because they're unethical. It's unethical to go on Jubilee. I think people who go on Jubilee are ethically compromised. And I mean that, and I've seen a lot of, quote, good people go on Jubilee, and I do think you're ethically compromised. Because, what do you mean you're going on Jubilee? Jubilee? Okay? And again, when we have these conversations, it's one thing to talk about it, it's one thing to review it, it's another thing to participate in what Jubilee has become. So Dean and Parker and Def Noodles and all these people who fucking are getting literally rich, giving the most cookie cutter, debate bro, retorts. And the rest of us are sitting here trying to say can we actually help people, please? And they're just like, oh, you're just jealous. You're just so fucking jealous. You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. Chess says this reminds me of I need to keep an eye out for Shauna Black, Dean Withers takes to share here because they're so good and funny. Well, that's the thing that I think is so frustrating. Because again, it is really hard. My Discord just brought this up too, that when we'll find the smallest, most random channels, and they will make some of the greatest content, but they're just not popular. Even I have to think about okay, I do philosophy through pop culture because I know at least if I talk about trending topics, I can bring philosophy into it. But I finished on my own time, I was finishing the conversation with Cam, FD, and Dr. Ball. I was finishing the conversation with, I'm still learning his name, that vegan philosophy guy who's Jack. I don't know his name yet. And the other guy, I was finishing all these conversations yesterday. I was reading my audiobook. I was doing all these things. And I was thinking about, how do I turn this thing that I love that is so not digestible into something people will watch? So I get paid and I still get to talk about philosophy. All right, we'll talk about Ariana Grande, but in a way that is ethical, meaning it's not about Ariana, it's about people covering Ariana. Okay, we'll talk about so-and-so. And yeah, listen, I'm interested in those things. So do not hear what I'm saying and say, oh, Brittany has to make content she doesn't like. I like talking about these things. I just want them to be seriously the jumping off point for a larger conversation. Dr. Kirk Honda does with Love is Blind. Obviously he's a psychologist, but what a great way to use this as a jumping off point to talk about his field. Chet says, I found your channel on your vids on Avatar, The Last Airbender, and the levels. That's still a good video. That video holds up, okay? All right, next video.
The first woman to run an ultramarathon. Louise Butcher has just become the first woman to run an ultramarathon topless.
I love putting myself in uncomfortable positions and then battling through them.
And it's all to raise awareness of breast cancer. After being diagnosed with lobular breast cancer in 2022, Louise had a double mastectomy. She chose to have flat closure rather than breast reconstruction. And after running 7 marathons and now an ultra, topless, Louise is hoping to tackle the stigma around flat closure and scars.
I wanted to show people that actually it's a really balanced value choice for women. I got this feeling from people that they all covered their scars, and when you're given fake boobs to cover them, it's kind of like you're ashamed of that, and that's what I didn't like. So I thought, well, if I put that pity and that shame alongside the determination and strength of running distances, that's going to get the discussion started, which it has.
And her bravery has inspired other women to do the same.
There's still so much negativity towards it. There's still so much stigma associated with not having breasts and showing the scars. I think people are, because of what I do, are going out and showing their scars. I know at least 5 women now all over the world are running topless who have got in touch with me and said I've inspired them to do that.
But while Louise says there's still a long way to go, it's clear this is one step forward towards change.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. It's funny. I was just talking to one of my friends who's trans mask, and they were saying, because they had top surgery and they weren't sure if they were allowed to show their top on Instagram. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you can, because you know what I mean? But also, there's a lot on Instagram you can show, but I can understand the fear of it. But I love to see people just showing up in different bodies. Like, our bodies really, they tell so many stories, but they really don't tell the full picture. And just a reminder that this thing, you know what I mean? It's a communication device, and it also, it's morally neutral, you know? It's both of those things at the same time. So pretty great, you know, pretty great. Yeah, that Sharon Stone story, we covered it on stream the other day, that a lot of women are dying from breast cancer because their male partners don't want them to lose their breasts. So women are choosing to risk dying from cancer than feel unattractive to their partners. Sharon Stone didn't. They got divorced. But isn't that crazy? Okay, other thing I want to bring to your attention.
Do you remember getting the HPV jab at school? Well,
No, I don't. Because when I was in middle school and my mother took me to the doctor and the doctor asked if I wanted it, my mom said, no, she's not going to have sex. And then I got HPV as an adult because I never got the vaccination. And my male partner at the time gave it to like 3 to 4 women, and we all had to go in to get our shots. And then I got my shot as an adult before I turned 30. Shots, multiple. So no, I didn't get it because my mother was religious, and religious people think their kids aren't going to have sex.
thanks to the vaccine, cervical cancer deaths have reached a historic low for young women in England. New analysis shows that HPV vaccine has prevented around 200 cervical cancer deaths in England since it was first rolled out for school-age girls. Alexandra had only just left school when the jab rolled out and ended up being diagnosed with cervical cancer aged 30.
I just remember hearing the words and everything went through my head.
Cervical cancer is caused by the human papillomavirus, which is also known as HPV. HPV is a sexually transmitted infection which is responsible for almost all cases of cervical cancer. But according to researchers at Queen Mary University London, women who are vaccinated between age 12 to 13 have an almost zero risk of dying from cervical cancer before the age of 30. And for the first time ever on record, no women aged 20 to 24 have died from cervical cancer in England between 2020 and 2024. Alexandra is now a mother to her 3-year-old daughter, Ivy.
I'm a real advocate for this vaccine because statistics are now proving the facts. And I know when Ivy is old enough, I will be taking her. She will be first in the queue.
Do you remember getting the HPV?
Wow. Guys, please vaccinate your kids. It's so important. Wow. Seriously, wow. Chetza, what are your thoughts on trans people in sports and the criticism on it? I think we should get rid of sports. The only sport that should be legal is voguing. Do you know voguing allegedly started, if you watch, depending on what you watch, actually, they talk about how voguing was Paris is Burning. Instead of fighting, you vogue at each other. I'm just saying, voguing only, no sports. But seriously, I think we're adults and we can figure it out. I think all people should be able to compete. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I think all people should be able to compete. We can figure it out. Like, everything's a construct and we make it up. So, and Chad, I saw that you said your mother died from cervical cancer. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing. Devastating, honestly. I'm devastated for everybody who has to just, you know what I mean? All this stuff is so preventable. It's just so preventable. And I'm so sorry. All right, this one's a tough one, okay? This one's a hard one to listen to. It is about rape, about marital rape, and being drugged by your partner and waking up to somebody on top of you. So just this next story is going to be a tough one, okay? And these are all like recent TikToks.
I treated you like so badly.
I treated you like so badly.
The chilling.
It says, I woke up to a stranger raping me. Woman searches for men who abused her or invited men to abuse her. It says, the chilling confessions of a rapist.
Confessions of a rapist.
I knew then that I was going to drug you, yes.
I knew that I was going to drug you, yes.
In calls recorded from prison, where he is serving nearly 15 years for drugging and raping his wife. But the depths of his depravity went deeper.
I woke to a stranger on top of me raping me and my husband in the room watching over.
Lucy, not her real name, had already endured years of domestic violence at the hands of her husband, but nothing prepared her for what she discovered that night.
The stranger got up and ran off. I barricaded myself in my children's room. When the police came to the house, my husband confessed that he'd been allowing men in to rape me and streaming it live online.
He'd later tell her from prison.
8 separate occasions with 7 different men.
Abuse that was happening in her home while her children slept in their bedrooms just feet away. He'd been drugging her.
I would mix in maybe 1 or 2 of your tablets into a drink.
I would mix in maybe 1 or 2 of your tablets into a drink.
But that was only when you were properly out.
But that was only when you were properly like out of it.
At the end of the night.
At times, using dangerous substances.
The police told me that he had been drugging me with car wheel cleaner.
Car wheel cleaner.
That's what he was drugging me with.
But while he is in jail, the other men are walking free.
I have confidence that all of the police have really cared about my case, but I was massively, massively let down. Despite the fact that the police were aware that a stranger had been in my home that night, they didn't fingerprint the bed frame. So I put the bed frame into the loft.
Years later, she said the police did take it and tests revealed multiple DNA profiles.
So tell me more about what you had to do.
So unfortunately, I had to do some investigative work in my own case, some of which I'll share with you now.
Yes, this is some of it.
This is just some of it, yeah.
Determined to find answers, she started looking for them herself, recovering emails and tracing a number of online accounts.
Evidence from emails and so forth shows that it was going on for many, many years.
Do you believe that there were more men involved?
Absolutely. It could be hundreds.
We are not revealing the police force involved in Lucy's case to protect her identity. But in a statement, it said it had transformed the way it investigated rape, saying, "We're sorry she feels let down by aspects of the overall investigation. We remain committed to doing all we can to identify any other perpetrators who carried out offences against her." But as it stands, the men are still at large and have been for more than 5 years.
I'd been scared of walking in the dark outside for so many years of my life, but actually I needed to be fearful of being in my own home and in my own bed.
And Lucy lives with the constant reminder of the ultimate betrayal.
I have absolutely no idea what the other men look like. Every day I walk past people and wonder if people look at me for too long. I'm concerned maybe that's one of them. I feel upset that these men are walking free and that they probably think that they've completely got away with the crimes that they've done and therefore may even be continuing.
Devastating story. We'll hear more about it. Not just this, but others like it. Again, I don't think you should be fearful of the world. And yet I think you should be cautious and realistic. And this is why I say don't move in with your boyfriend. When people tell me, Brittany, I can't afford it, the economy is crazy, I'm like, I am begging you to move in with a roommate. I am begging you to move in with a cousin. I am begging you to even put an ad out for a roommate that you think would be safer than a man or a possible rapist that is coercing you into a legal contract that traps you and forces you to be in a house where you fall asleep every day. So, you know what I mean? When we're talking about our partners, when we're talking about moving in with people, like, be 100% and to the best of your ability. And I say that as somebody who moved in with lots of men I wasn't 100% sure about. And I'll tell you this right now, moving them out was a pain. Sometimes moving out felt scary. I did at many times wonder, like, am I going to die? You know, and it's a scary thought. And I'm glad nothing ever happened. But that's just what I'm saying. Like, if you can, to the best of your ability, set up your life to date a person until you trust them. And it could be very quick. You could trust them in 3 months. I'm not saying it has to be a long time. I'm just saying I don't want you to say, oh, well, I have to live with him because XYZ. If you can avoid it, please avoid it. You know what I mean? And this is just like to empower you to also pick that choice, because I think a lot of people shame people for having roommates and they don't shame you for living with a partner. But I would rather you live with a roommate than a partner. Like, I just think in the world we live in today, in the world we've always lived in, honestly, that men have always... they always talk about women baby trapping men. I don't know, dude. I feel like men do all types of things to keep a woman in a relationship with him, you know, including killing her so she can't be with anybody else, you know? So, without victim blaming and without hating yourself, empower yourself to say, I'm going to steer my ship and I like you. I'd like to keep dating you. And when we're ready, we might move in together, but only when we're ready. Okay. Chet says, what about a male friend as a girl? Yeah. If you trust your male friend and you guys are chill and he's been vetted, sure. Like, I have a lot of guy friends I wouldn't mind being roommates with. But again, it's not about the gender of the person. It's about the rushing into a relationship. It's about the idea that we have to because we're desperate. And just separate from rape, just moving in too quickly with anybody is an unnecessary pain you don't want to deal with. But it also is a learning lesson a lot of us had to do. But a lot of, queer people do this too. They move in with each other because they don't have money. I've done this a lot in my life. Again, it's really hard to have a bad roommate. It's even harder when you're fucking the roommate. You know what I'm saying? Having a bad roommate is hard enough. That's why I'm not the biggest fan for myself, but that's also because that's why I work multiple jobs and I try my hardest to make enough money to live alone because I know myself. But that's not to say that I didn't have roommates all through my 20s. I did. And that's not to say that I didn't always have somebody to live with and or share rent with and or even pay some of the expenses. And honestly, a lot of the time towards the end, it wasn't even worth it. That's why it became not worth it for me. The reason it became not worth it to me to have somebody live with me is because I realized, it's hard to share in personal space, So just think about it. Just think about your options. You only know, your circumstance best, Chad says, but this woman is married to this man, so is moving in with your boyfriend is the real issue? If I said use the crosswalk, it's safer than walking in the middle of the street, and you said, but people are going to drive drunk, so what's the point? Do you know what I'm saying? Use the crosswalk, it's safer. Regardless of how many people are going to drive drunk. Because it's not only drunk drivers you're looking out for. Okay. Albania. Shout out to Albania. They're really going through it right now with this Ivanka fucking island resort thing. Let's catch up. Okay, if you don't know what's going on is basically Ivanka Trump decided she was going to build Ivanka Trump? Which one's the daughter? Uh-oh. Why am I forgetting? Which one's Ivanka? Which one's Ivana? No, Ivanka Trump. What she did is she allegedly came across this random island, allegedly, in Albania, allegedly, and decided she wanted to build a resort there, allegedly. But it's wetlands, it's protected property. They're upset that Albanians were willing to sell it to her. So the Albanians are protesting and they're upset. And this is them standing up for their country. These are wetlands. These are animal life lives there. This resort will not help the locals. Yeah. Says don't shoot, don't shoot. Don't shoot, don't shoot. See for yourself, our work, our people is unstoppable. The protest is the 4th of the month we protest. The protest will not stop without liquidation of the people of Trier. There are 200 houses here, as you can see from the wall. Why did you lock me up in that? In that building. If they open the doors of that building, they will lock me up today. I have regular wallpaper. I've been in charge of this state. Wait, wallpaper? Is that right? I have regular wallpaper. I've been in charge of this state for 13 years, but there is no justice. There is no state. I told him at the beginning it would not be easy to take me out. They're speaking really fast. Hold on. Okay. Because I know that in the other place, they will do it in the other place. Because it is shameful for what is happening in this country. This is Albanians protest tear down fences for Kushner's luxury estate, the development site. So this is the development site. If we had the opportunity to come here, today I would have consulted with the people. But they did not come, they did not. I remember that they took me out without a jacket, without a shirt. What does that say? What are they going to do with me? Hold on, Chazad, I'm assuming it's saying or jargon that says, I don't have anything different about me. Look at this. It's already going. Look, it's already started. How sad. How sad. I mean, how sad that we keep selling all of our land to all these fucking billionaires. I think that's what it is. I think like we need to have larger and deeper conversations about how much of our land we're selling off to billionaires, how much of it is being used for what it's being used for, how much it will impact the neighbors and the people who live there, right? Chet says regular wallpaper means normal working class. Interesting. Oh, noted. Okay. Interesting. Learning so much. So shout out to the Albanians. I know over on my Bert commentary channel, my Bert Simon channel, people are often like, Brittany, can you cover this topic? But I'm covering it here because that channel I only post every 2 weeks. So it's usually about something different. But on this channel, we do try to cover all of these things because, guys, this is all philosophical. What is more philosophical than questioning how we use the land? Like, what is more philosophical? And so, again, all of this stuff, all of this distraction about sides and all these things are, we have to go back to why we do what we do. What is our obligation and our responsibility, right? To the land, to the people. That's what this should be about. Okay, now we've got an update. The story we covered yesterday about the mother whose child was shot at Walmart and killed by the police for allegedly shoplifting, which now family members are saying that that might not have even been the case, that it might have been mistaken identity. We're still getting feedback back. It doesn't matter. The point is, no one should be shooting anybody for anything, period. Okay, so this is, here are some random videos. Let's try to get an update.
Pushing for answers after a shooting involving law enforcement in North Mississippi left a 1-year-old little boy dead and a woman in critical condition. Family tells us 1-year-old Cohen Wiley died after police shot at the car he was in yesterday afternoon in the Senatobia Walmart parking lot. Tonight, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, who is now handling the case, says officers were initially called to the store for a shoplifting call. WRAG Shay Arthur is live tonight with the very latest on the case. Shay.
April, really, it seems like so much of this case could rest on what is seen on video. I have to tell you, I was in this store just a short time ago. There are surveillance cameras everywhere. Out here in the parking lot, we're seeing it too. There are signs all over here in the parking lot at Walmart for cameras in use all over. This is, of course, where that shooting took place. Tonight, a family is grieving the loss of little 1-year-old Cohen Wiley.
I'm just lost for words, to be honest.
You're about to heal the county. This is the grandfather.
Someone need to be held accountable for it.
Cohen's family says he died at the hospital in Senatobia after he was shot, a bullet piercing the car he was riding in Sunday afternoon. You can see in this video at least one bullet hole in the front windshield of a car we spotted there at the hospital. The passenger side window also heavily damaged. Investigators with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation say law enforcement were called to the Senatobia Walmart just after 2 Sunday afternoon for a shoplifting call. They say officers saw 2 adults and a child leaving a store, jump into a car. As officers tried to stop that car, the driver drove in their direction, nearly hitting an officer. At least one officer shot at that vehicle. The car continued to take off, but arrived at the hospital a short time later, where Cohen died. This viewer video shows the chaotic moments after the shooting.
She just got shot.
As officers are seen running through the parking lot. This woman was at Walmart at the time. She says she saw the whole incident. She asked not to be identified for fear of retaliation.
And I seen the officers take off running, not in the car. I'm talking about.
Okay, her family's gonna recognize that voice. Like you gotta mask the voice at least.
About on feet. And these are the sheriffs and the police, and they're running through the parking lot. And I see the car take off, So I'm like, in my head, like, I know they're not chasing the car. They don't think they're gonna catch the car, literally. Then I hear gunshots. And I'm like, I know they're not shooting at a car that's leaving in a public. This is Walmart.
A separate witness told me he heard 2 gunshots. He said law enforcement was already waiting in the parking lot as 2 women exited with 1 box of diapers, one holding baby Cohen. Today, we went to Senatobia City Hall to request the police department's shoplifting response policy, the number of shoplifting calls received at the Walmart in the last 6 months, as well as body-worn and dash camera footage from officers. I also spoke with the mayor, who would not say how many officers were involved in the incident or if anyone was on administrative leave during the investigation. But as a small town now has questions, people we talk to hope for transparency in the case.
I'm just tired of it.
It's something to think about. I just hope the truth come out.
Yeah, and April and Alex, as we continue to press for our own answers, a community organizer does tell me a group plans to meet tomorrow at City Hall to question officials as well.
Okay, another video on the same incident.
A shattered window and bullet hole in the windshield. The aftermath of a deadly police shooting in Senatobia, Mississippi that resulted in the death of 1-year-old Cohen Wiley. The shooting sparking outrage.
I'm more angry because the situation that took
This is the grandmother.
place really was unnecessary. What I'm hearing from what happened, it was unnecessary.
According to investigators, the shooting, which took place Sunday in this Walmart parking lot, occurred when officers responded to a shoplifting call involving 2 adults and a child. Authorities say the 2 adults, now identified by the family's lawyer as the boy's mother and her friend, tried to get away, driving toward and nearly hitting an officer. Another officer then firing at the car. In this video, officers can be seen running. One witness telling a local reporter of the 2 adults. One was carrying the child, the other a box of diapers.
Policeman shot, open fire in a public setting over allegedly some Pampers.
Investigators say the trio ended up at a local hospital where the 1-year-old was pronounced dead. One of the adults suffering critical injuries. No officers were injured. The family of Cohen Wiley now distraught and demanding answers.
I don't know anything right now. My grandson gone. I just want justice.
Tonight, the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation is now investigating the shooting. George Solis, NBC News.
Devastating. Okay, so that's our update for now. We'll keep track of this story. We're obviously so upset for the family, for the grandparents, for the parents, for everybody involved, for the child. It's just so unnecessary. And this is why I say, like, yeah, Chad, this is patriarchy. This really is. It's white supremacy meets patriarchy and capitalism. Because what do you mean they couldn't? Diapers that should be free. So again, the trifecta: white supremacy. Okay, the idea that black life is worth less than white life, that black children are worth less than white children, that cops are entitled to using power and strength over black communities, right? That's how they police the community. Okay, capitalism, the idea that she maybe stole diapers, maybe didn't steal diapers. Either way, it's diapers. So obviously that should have just been free, but capitalism, right? People would rather your child starve than for your child to eat because like they're trying to make money over here, right? Like bullshit. And then of course, patriarchy, this entitlement that men know best, men are the leaders, men have the guns, men make this decision. So we have 2 women and a baby and a group of men with guns, and a baby has died and a boy has died. Just a reminder, patriarchy does not care about your sons. You know, they don't. But patriarchy is convinced us, because Chad says, why patriarchy? I really struggle with this. Patriarchy is the belief that men are inherently biologically predispositioned to be better, that the leader should be a man simply because he's biologically born a man, whatever that even means, right? Patriarchy is this idea that the man, the masculine, is better, smarter, more intelligent, more calm, has more wisdom just because you were born a man. Okay, and then leaders will be men, the power will be run by men, the men will decide who lives and dies, men. And then you add in white supremacy. So you understand white supremacy, right? The idea that white men think they're better than black men. Now, patriarchy believes all men are better than all non-men, or better than men that they don't deem as worthy in patriarchy. It's white supremacy, but with gender. Which is why we're saying race and gender are constructs. They were created and they're maintained by this idea of what we think of as black and white and man and woman. Now imagine if we reconstructed our relationship with these things and realize we're animals on a planet, all having a biological experience, all natural. There is no such thing as really a man or a woman or a black person or a white person. There are just simply human beings who fall into certain categories. And if we took away our bias and our prejudice in the way that we group people together so we can keep them lower than us, we would realize we're all the same, but we can't. So yeah, Chat says this goes back to dominance and supremacy. Exactly. This goes back to dominance and supremacy. So now what we have are groups of people, evil people, philosophically evil people who want power in society. So they create new ways to hold power. Oh, I'm white, so that's why I'm more powerful than you. Oh, I'm a man. That's actually why I need the power. Ooh, I have more money than you. So, you know, ooh, I dress nicer than you. See how I have a suit on? It means I'm better than you. So you're going to have to let me be the leader. And that's how they do it. And they maintain that. And so if you don't follow suit, if you don't look the part, if you don't have the money, or you don't have the right color skin, or you don't have the right gender, that's it. You don't get to be in charge, but thanks for playing. Tee-hee. You know, that's why we talk about systems, because now they're making this more and more real through policy. They're making this more and more real through, okay? Now, hold on. Before we go on, actually, hold on. I thought, oh, ignore that. I thought I pulled this up, but maybe I didn't pull it up. Hold on. Okay. Why is my TikTok being so weird?
You think that.
Okay. So I went back and forth with the person in my comment section about Hassan wearing suits. And they said, well, maybe he just wanted to look more professional, like more adult. This is why I tried to make this video like a year back. I don't think you need to wear suits to look more adult. And I don't think suits are inherently wrong. But I do think the kinds of suits you wear and the way you try to look more adult matters. Okay? So the reason I say Hassan is appealing to white supremacy is because people keep saying he's just trying to look more professional. Why is this the only way he can look more professional? You're not going to question that? Again, everything is political, but not all things that are political, not all things that are personal are political, but things that are personal can be political, right? He said he wants it, what he wants from it. He said he wants old white ladies to give him a chance. He said it himself. There you go. He wants old white conservative people to think he's like a good boy. Okay, that's why Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes, they wear suits. And people just think they're good old boys with suits. How about the good old boys? You know what I mean? So again, when we have these conversations, so here's a look with their perspective on style, and I think it's really important.
You think that I'm absurd for being this, but isn't it absurd that you're afraid of colors? Isn't it like tragic that you think that if you have two prints that don't go along, you're going to melt? Power clashing is not an aesthetic, it's a way of living. It's actually about saying all these things, all these rules, they're not reality. Why would I take my style advice from patriarchy?
Exactly. Why would I take, okay? Why would I take any advice from white supremacy or patriarchy or anything else? Ooh, straighten your hair, look more professional. I don't think so. Okay? Oh, you should dress a little bit more professional. Thank you. Now listen. Here's what I think professional means. Professional to me means intentional and thoughtful. A look is very intentional and they're very thoughtful. That's what I think professional, that's what I think being grown is, and growing into your grown fashion. It's putting together a nice outfit that is quality, that is clean, that is nice, that is eccentric if you want it to be, or toned down if you want it to be. But it's about how you hold yourself in those, you know, those pieces of clothing. I think like what I think about professional, I think about put together, and I think about comfortable in your skin. That's what I think of as professional. So intentional for me goes a long way. And that's why I think a future could be a place where teachers dress eccentrically, or people dress, you know, but again, I don't like the fuckboy aesthetic. I don't like when people's fashion is like, because guys, fashion is signaling. So if your fashion signals white supremacy or fuckboy, I don't think it's good. I think it's unhealthy fashion. But I think the problem is we have to know what we're looking at. I saw this woman, maybe I should show it to you. I saw this woman make this really good video about different categories of polyamorous people. And she was so on point. Like, how do you know the difference between like queer poly people who spend every Sunday together for 30 years and fucking fuckboy narcissists who start a harem because they want to have multiple women who they have sex with who are in their 20s? You know what I mean? It's like these are different kinds of, you know, what people claim is poly. You know, how do you know the difference between a serial cheater and somebody who just wants an open relationship? Because again, if you're conservative, it's all the same, but we're not conservative here. So we have to think about the nuance of all these things. What's the difference from a vegan and vegetarian? They're different, right? And then you have some people who are like, oh, it's all the same. It's not the same. You know? Yeah, Chad says Hassan doesn't carry himself as in a professional way, so even with a suit, it just feels like he's cosplaying. He is cosplaying professionalism. The dilemma is like he's not ready, but he's decided he's going to do it. This is why I say to you, like, I know I'm not ready to be a professional adult. You can call me in a couple years. I'm not even 40. Like, I'm not ready, girl. But Hassan, I don't think he has the humility to know he's not ready. And I don't think his audience has the humility to know they picked the wrong person. Anyways, another sad story, a devastating story. Well, some parents were celebrating the Knicks win with their doggos. Here's a celebration TikTok.
Fox to Wemby. Wemby tries a three, puts it up, off the mark, and another rebound. It's over. It's over. Big fans, this is not a dream. Your long wait is ended. Go ahead and cry. After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
Okay, well, some people were celebrating and having the greatest time of their lives. Other people were mourning the death of their dog dressed in a Knicks jersey to celebrate the win.
Good dog. Oh my God, what the fuck? Oh no!
The Calvary for this.
I can't.
Instead of you guys kill the dog with those fucking drug dealers and shit outside, why don't you shoot those motherfuckers?
The Knicks just won the championship. We were just so happy. We were just celebrating the Knicks.
Instead of fucking getting a fucking piece of shit outside, you kill a fucking dog.
Oh God, Jeremiah!
Why? Why?
What's necessary? Wow, where's this shit at?
What is the purpose of all of you?
Hey, good job. This is what we pay for. Amazing work, guys.
Oh my God, no,
Good shit.
Oh my God.
Seriously?
What the
fuck?
This is fucking pathetic.
Are you serious?
When there's fucking drug dealers, people stabbing each other outside for a fucking dog.
This is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy. We didn't do anything. Oh my God, Jameson, no! Oh, jeez.
No. You're sorry? You did it.
Here's the news story. So for those of you who missed it,
The New York Knicks NBA championship turned tragic when LAPD officers responding to a call about a screaming woman shot and killed the family dog.
A neighbor who called police thought that the neighbor was in trouble. Rachel Menitoff live in Canoga Park for us. She has details on this. Rachel.
Rick Scher, this mother and son are absolutely devastated, and they're also confused about why an officer felt the need to use his gun on their family pet. They feel this entire situation could have been handled very differently.
Shots fired, officer, shots fired.
What started as a night of celebration turned to tragedy.
I can't process it.
Marie Marseille, who prefers not to be on camera, says she was getting calls from friends and family congratulating one another on the Knicks. This was on Saturday night after their championship win. Soon after, she gets a knock on the door. It's two LAPD officers responding to a noise complaint. The caller said that a woman was screaming and thought it might have been a domestic conflict. Marseille explains it's just her and her 2-year-old dog, Jameson, at home. The officers ask Marseille to move her golden Saint Berdoodle further back, but the playful pup ran out of the apartment.
Within that span of a few seconds, I see Jameson getting shot twice by the police officer, and then I go down on top of Jameson. I just watched him take his last breath.
An officer claimed the dog charged toward him, which led to the shooting. All the while, Jeremiah Garcia was consoling his mom over the phone.
I hear my mother still screaming, "Oh my God, someone please help, call 911."
They wonder why the officers felt the need to use lethal force on a dog that has never bitten anyone, is gentle, and was genuinely excited to meet the new people at his front door.
I don't know if they could tase him. I don't know if they could use a baton or mace or something like that to subdue him.
There had to have been so many other options, so many different ways this issue could have gotten resolved, because it didn't have to turn into this.
LAPD says it's in the process of interviewing witnesses and collecting physical evidence. The department says its understanding about what happened here might change depending on the evidence. The family, though, says they haven't heard anything from LAPD ever since the shooting on Saturday night. That's the very latest from...
What a frustrating fucking story. Okay, girls, lock in. I'm going to give you some helpful advice, yeah? 1, you got to learn to read the fucking room. This is what I mean by read the fucking room. And I'm not just talking to autistic people, because I know you guys always think I'm just talking to autistic people. I'm talking to everybody. Neurotypicals, read the fucking room. The Knicks are playing, yeah? People are going to be celebrating. There's going to be a lot of yelling. The neighbor should have read the fucking room. The neighbor should have also known her neighbor and should have been able to say, oh, I know my neighbor. I know what's okay. When here in Croatia, there's a lot of sport events and we just hear random yelling sometimes. And I go, oh, the game is happening. The other day, we heard a neighbor choking and we were listening to make sure she was okay or if we should call 911. She ended up being okay. But it's one of those things where we're like, read the room. You're going to get somebody killed. Okay? You're going to get someone killed. Whether you're a neurotypical who doesn't know that an autistic person is having a meltdown and you call the cops and they shoot the autistic person, or you're a neurotypical who hears your neighbor screaming because there's a goddamn game going on, and then you're going to get a dog killed. Okay? You need to know your neighbors enough to know before you call the cops on them, you should figure out what's happening to the best of your ability within reason. Because put it together. This was so unnecessary. And why was there 20 fucking cops there? What are they, on a little field trip of how not to handle a call? Do you know what I'm saying? What was that? There was like literally, it looked like a school of cops. It looks like they were out for a fucking field trip. Why were there 20 fucking cops? That's so confusing. And a helicopter? So stupid. This is what I'm saying. This again, violence. Violence is patriarchy, guys. Violence is built into patriarchy as the number one and only solution for protection. I'm saying there are 100,000 ways you can protect you and your community without being violent. This is why I don't celebrate violence usually, because generally speaking, it's always used to control. It's always used to dominate. Yeah, what happened to giving your neighbor a call instead? What happened to fucking knocking on the goddamn door? Okay? If you really think it's scary and there's truly a domestic violence situation happening, well, okay, here's my question. Why did she think there was or why did the neighbor think there was a domestic violence thing happening if the woman was alone in her apartment with a dog? You know what I'm saying? She didn't hear multiple voices because there couldn't have been multiple voices. It was a singular woman with her dog. Oh, can you imagine? You're a fucking single woman. You're living your best life. You have the cutest dog in the whole world. You have a beautiful apartment and a great neighborhood. You're just living your great life. And this happens to you. Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't understand anything about this story. And it feels to me like, I don't know if I'm just smarter than everybody in the room, but it feels like this wouldn't happen on my watch. I refuse to believe this would have happened if I was in charge. And also, to be fair, I also think, like, read the room when it comes to animals. You got to read the room when it comes to doggos. First of all, he's wearing a Knicks jersey. Okay? And second of all, it's like a little poodle thing or a big labradoodle, whatever they call it, like a big, okay? But he's a cutie patootie. Can't you just tell? Okay? And so even if the dog came out running, just because a dog's running at you doesn't mean he's dangerous. You don't have to shoot the dog. You can see first. Especially if you're a police officer, you should be trained to, well, you should be trained to de-escalate, but they aren't. So I don't know. Maybe it just feels so stupid to me. Like, how could this keep happening? I don't understand how this keeps happening. Except white supremacy, patriarchy, and all of the other stuff. Police brutality. Yeah, Chet said black person yelling equal crime happening in a lot of people's minds. And that's the racism. That's the white supremacy. Why in the world do you hear a woman celebrating in her apartment as like, you know what I mean? Just insane. Yeah. Chet said the black engineer eating ice cream in his room and a cop walks in thinking it's her apartment and shoots him. Oh, I remember. We all remember that story. Yeah. This guy, literally with a bowl of ice cream, this woman enters his home. His home. His house. He is in his house. And if I remember correctly, he was even like kind of dressed casually, like maybe even in boxers. Like he was in his house. And she walks through his front door and shoots him dead in his apartment because she claims she walked into the wrong apartment. Listen, I have accidentally almost walked into the wrong apartment multiple times in my life. And every single time I was like, fuck, my bad, bro. Like I can recognize, because if you have ever lived in an apartment with a lot of the doors looking the same, you know what I never thought to do? I don't know, kill somebody. It's just an embarrassing moment where it's like, my bad. And everyone laughs about it and you move on. But like, no, why do you always, it's because they're trained. Cops are trained to kill you. That's it, period. Cops are trained to literally kill you. And that's the bullshit of it all. That's why we say, fuck the police, no police. Defund the police. If you can't figure out how not to kill people, we don't need you. What good are you? Insane. So sad. Just absolutely devastating. Just so fucking unnecessary. Anyways, okay. We'll keep tabs on the story about the 1-year-old because that's just so devastating. Let's do this. Let's switch topics. A little bit of an abrupt, you know. Let's talk about Happy Pride ? This creator came on my feed today, Donnie, and then it kind of coincides with this video I made over on my Bert Simon channel called When You're Gay But Not Queer. Just a reminder of how good it is.
The whole Charlie Kirk situation. He wasn't as bad of a person as everybody has been led to believe.
Maybe you shouldn't kill Jews, stupid Muslims. Lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. Affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters.
No matter how many surgeries I get, I'm always gonna be Jeff. Science doesn't lie. I was at a debate. So a grown man that goes around the country debating people, spitting facts, was just taken out. And I'm not over it.
It's always fun. I get a chuckle, you know, when someone is wearing the, Free Palestine shirt and the gay flag. And
it's like, you know, they would literally murder you, right? It's
well, so, you know, it's funny. I used to say that, hey, if you as a gay person would go to Gaza, they'd throw you off of tall buildings, right? Now they don't have any tall buildings left, so I don't.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's podcast. Yay. Oh my God, who is she? Okay, that's my When You're Gay But Not Queer start to my video, which I just want to recommend. It is my best performing video on my channel. 500,000 views, baby. 500,000 views. Look at me. Who is she? Okay, so go check that out if you haven't already subscribed to that second channel. Let's meet this new creator, Donnie, and see what she, he, I don't know their pronouns. Let's see if they have pronouns on their official page. I love the name Donnie. It's just very gender neutral, so I don't know. I'm going to say she. Maybe a lesbian? I don't know. Let's find out together.
I feel like I'm giving 90s drapes. I like it. Happy Pride Month. If there are audio issues throughout this video, I apologize. I'll try to fix them in post, but I don't know. I need a new microphone and the economy is crashing, so we'll see. The topic at hand, though. The gays don't want to be gay anymore? Or were never gay. I've noticed that lately there's been an influx of selective gayness when it comes to public figures known
I've been wanting to talk about these, but I haven't gone around to it, so I'm glad we're using their video to jump off.
To be associated or identified with some sort of queer identity. I do want to preface this video with I am in full support of not labeling yourself when it comes to your sexuality or your gender. I understand that labels can be confusing and there are a lot of them. I don't believe anyone should feel like they have to label themselves in order to make others feel more comfortable, or if they are simply not comfortable with it. I know that some people do find labels helpful, so if you have found the perfect...
Is that Demon Slayer art behind? I think that's Demon Slayer art.
Labels to fit yourself. That is fantastic. I love that for you, and that is perfectly valid as well. What I do find intriguing is this sort of distaste or distance from the LGBTQIA plus community when it comes to individuals who identify or have previously identified as something representative in that LGBTQIA plus. To be clear, everyone can associate or not associate with any person or community of their choosing. I'm not trying to police anyone in any sort of way. What I'm focusing on is sort of the reactions or approaches that individuals are displaying when it comes to their gay contemporaries. As someone who doesn't consider themselves to be heterosexual, I to a degree understand not wanting everything you do to be associated with your queerness or your
I do not. I want everything I do to be gay. The way I eat, the way I shower, the way I kiss. I want everything I do to be the queerest, gayest thing you've ever seen. I want people to approach me in public and say, "You're so gay, I might need to arrest you." That's how gay I want everyone to know that I am, just on principle.
Sexuality. For me personally, being queer is a part of my identity, not my entire identity. In my experience, it is very easy for others to start to put you in this sort of...
But I'm old. I think they're probably, 21? I'm 37, so,
gay box once they learn about your sexuality, which can feel very limiting, even within the community. Please note when I say the community, I am talking about the LGBTQIA.
The gay mafia, if you will.
Plus community. Within the community, it can be expected of you to put your queerness at the forefront of your identity. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, and I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong. But again, depending on who you are and how you've grown up, that expectation can feel very restrictive sometimes.
And I do understand the need to make sure your queerness isn't performative because you feel pressured. Like when I thought I was going to get a rainbow tattoo that said "Love always wins" or the equal sign tattoo for equal marriage. So I do understand. I really do. Making sure that your queerness isn't performative because, you know what I mean? Discourse said when you were discussing Young M.A. before, I thought about this. Well, Young Ma was on the thumbnail for this video, so that's why I was pretty excited.
Very light example. Earlier in the year, I uploaded a video centered around the creator Easy, who is known as a lesbian. I think there was a rumor they came out as bi or they were doing that as a sketch. I mean, they do that as a sketch generally, but I remember seeing that as a thing lately, so I don't know if they now identify as bisexual. But Easy, a part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And one of the comments that I got on that video was someone saying that they wish that I would talk about gay stuff more often. I'm paraphrasing. But they said it would be nice to see more content concerning the LGBTQIA community. And personally, I make videos about topics that interest me and rarely topics that I think will garner more views. And if it happens to be gay, it happens to be gay. I didn't respond to that comment with that information because I understood why they were commenting it. One, that's what they wanted to see. But also, in some of my earlier videos on the channel, you'll find mentions of me being a non-hetero in my titles and using verbiage like the straights to differentiate between my experiences and other experiences. And I'm sure there were people who subscribed because of those things and were kind enough to stay subscribed because of those things. So yeah, it makes sense that they would want to see me talk about gay stuff. I personally wouldn't expect others to completely detach me from my sexual orientation, especially if it plays an integral part in my career and represents a large portion of my audience or my fan base or my supporters. I don't think Leo Skeppy would agree with me though.
Don't fuck.
You thought we were getting right into or my supporters. I don't think Leo Skeppy would agree with me though.
Don't fuck.
You thought we were getting right into the content, didn't you? You thought you could start off this pride dry, thirsty, parched. You thought I was.
You are not about to throw me an ad right now with 11K subs. You are not about to throw me an ad.
I'm gonna let that happen. Where's your water? June is.
Oh, she's just telling me to drink water. Okay.
A long month for most of you. There's prides to go to, conventions, gay this, gay that, vodka this, tequila that. Go get some water now. Family set. Cheers.
Drink your water.
Johnny, roll the clip.
Don't fucking comment no shit to me, Happy Pride. I'm not fucking happy. I don't like that shit. No, not Happy Pride. Unhappy Pride. Do not loop me and Boots, no matter how gay he fucking is, into that crowd. No.
Leo Skeppy said this last year, so 2025 Pride Month, that's the video he posted. Not gonna lie, within the context of Leo Skeppy, I did think the video was funny. I kind of put it in the context of it wasn't seeming like a great time to be gay. With how things were playing out in the White House, rights being stripped away left and right, it can get a little annoying to be gay. I felt like there was nuance to what he was saying, and I felt like his tone was semi-lighthearted. He's smiling, he's laughing. I personally didn't take it very seriously. But again, by the time he made this, Trump was...
Oh, so this is the it's never just a joke thing, unless it is just a joke. So when people say like, oh, Brittany, like they're just joking, yeah, until they're not, right? Until they're not. That's why we have to sit there and we have to remember this. And we have to remember that one, Leo Skeppy's in his 20s. He's a baby. And two, he has a huge following of like advice and what to do. He's also the one who made the murder-suicide plan. He's, you know, he's always being platformed. A bunch of people have collabed with him. Again, we always make the wrong people famous. I'm telling you right now, he is the wrong person. We made him very famous. He is very popular. And now he's talking about going back to church. He's like reading the Bible on TikTok. He's talking about how he might not even be gay anymore. It's such a fucking grift. It's disgusting.
In his second term, various rights had already started to be stripped away, including rights of the LGBTQIA, and the administration hasn't stopped taking them away ever since. A lot of people were not amused at all.
You see, I woke up angry because I had to unblock Leo Skeppy to see what BS he was going on about this time.
Don't fucking comment no shit to me, Happy Pride.
Just so you know, today, the Supreme Court upheld a ban on gender-affirming care for minors in over 20 states. And you want to talk about how cringy Pride Month is. So I agree, it is an unhappy Pride. You were right about that one. What I don't understand is how you, a person with 10 million followers, whose platform is largely centered around you giving people advice, could possibly justify telling people that you want to dissociate from the community of people that gave you your rights. Because guess what? It's those people, the happy Pride people, the ones waving flags around, the ones being themselves unashamedly in schools and at work and public and in front of their state senators and in small towns and in big cities. Those are the people that made it so that you can live your life carefree. And also,
that's what I'm sick of. I'm sick of the communities uplifting these people and then them turning around and shitting on us. And it's like, damn, like we made you popular because we thought you were an ally, or we made you popular because we thought you were one of us, or we thought you were, and then boom.
Gain this platform and make all this money and be the gay guy that's not like other gays. But guess what? This tired ass take always comes from a cis white guy who's over 6 foot and has a bunch of money and never shuts up about it, who somehow is always too dense to realize that your rights are on the chopping block too. But guess what? You shouldn't have to be affected by bigotry to want to stand up for people who are, especially people who are in community with you, whether you like it or not. You are not the first person to arrive at this conclusion that you don't want to be associated with your own community. I know all about people like you. In fact, I think every single queer person has had moments of self-hatred and internalized homophobia because that's how society wants us to feel. And I'm not asking you in this moment to like go to the therapy chair and unwork all of your trauma and come to Jesus and be with your community, because I don't think it's realistic for that to happen in one moment. I'm asking for you, with your 10 million followers, to take this video down and do that work in private. Because right now, we need all the help we can get, and you're setting us back.
You do have to.
Okay, wait, pause. Let me show you.
It's been very life-changing since opening the Bible, but I'm not reading it for like the cultural, like, what religious practices do I need to have? I'm just kind of letting the principles hit me and the lessons hit me as they need to. And it's kind of like split my consciousness in half.
Okay.
But the biggest thing that's kind of been helping me recently, coming back to God and building his relationship.
Yeah.
So something that hit me the other day was look at God as a verb. I saw this like thing on TikTok and someone was like, God is a verb. And I was like, oh, please. And then I was like, wait, that kind of makes sense, because when I take actions that are in line with loving and how God would do it, or Jesus as an example, how he would handle things, I feel better. I feel aligned. Like my heart opens, things soften. I feel better when I handle things.
Oh, no. Chat says, oh, wow, he's really regressed. He hasn't regressed. He was never progressive. He hasn't regressed. He was never progressive. I've been yelling this for years. Leo Skeppy is not progressive. They just think he is because he's gay. But that's why I say there's a difference between being gay and being queer. Just because you're gay does not mean you're queer. He's not regressing. He's always been this person. In this timeline, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not regressing.
How God would, how I think God would, not Jesus. Love people who hated him and hurt him to the death.
I think that what you're doing with like sharing your journey.
This girl, whoever this girl is, stop platforming this psychopath. Stop platforming this man who had a murder-suicide plan and bragged about it and argued that he claims that he worked in the medical field and his coworkers agreed to murder his boyfriend for him. Do you understand how crazy this is? This is not funny. Stop platforming this fucking psychopath. And I feel like people don't know. I think people don't know that these men are getting on podcasts and openly sharing the craziest stories. And then people get them famous because they're good looking, because they're rich, because they're like aesthetically pleasing, and because they're charismatic. And then, you know what I'm saying?
With the Bible, the struggles, the challenges, the good parts, the things that where you're evolving and growing as a character, like regardless, I think it's an amazing thing.
I feel like people are craving depth in a way like never before.
God.
Like they crave like, since getting into reading the Bible, I can't even begin to explain like how many things have been shifting and changing mentally. My sexuality's been weird. Don't know what's going on with that, but it's starting to irritate me because what I'm attracted to is flipping, and it's very destabilizing, and it's very like disorienting.
Oh my
Since I've started
God.
to explore having a
He's about to get a trad wife.
relationship with God in a different way and exploring Jesus Christ and the way that he approached life. My grandmother, since getting into reading the Bible, I would sing Jesus' name in a serious way. My dad, my aunt,
People have it. He still don't like girls, so everybody's praying, oh, Leo's gonna be straight. No, I don't think sexuality works like that. I think you're born gay. Because I would never have chosen this.
Okay, so I have some thoughts.
Anyways, okay, so just for context about Leo Skepi's whole bullshit, okay?
To acknowledge, well, I guess you don't have to do anything. None of us have to do anything. But people sacrifice just for there to be people alive today to have a Pride Month, let alone be some sort of queer and denounce Pride or Pride Month. So I can definitely see how people saw the obvious privilege in that statement. I have no issue with Leo Skepi. I know he's a very polarizing being. I think it's important to note that Leo Skepi is Albanian, and from my very non-extensive research, Albanians lead heavily towards conservative values. Homosexuality in Albania was made legal.
He also talks about his abusive childhood and how his like father or stepfather used to come into his room and beat him randomly. I always said this man needs therapy, this man needs care, but he's taking his traumatized childhood and inflicting it on us through bigotry.
In the mid-90s. And while Albanians might not mind so much homosexuality when it comes to people who are outside of the Albanian culture or community, if you are Albanian and identify.
It says no one cares. Even if you look flamboyant, people might stare at you, but as soon as they find out you're a foreign, they won't bat an eye. And to add to this, I mean, Albanians can be starry-eyed people. I'm an Albanian from the outside. I get stared at, so don't let it bother you.
As homosexual or queer, you may not receive the same sort of openness. Coming from a sort of conservative background is something that everyone we're talking about today kind of has in common, including rapper Young M.A. Was it Young M.A. or Young Ma? I don't know why I can't remember. Young M.A.'s mother is Jamaican and African American, and she has a Puerto Rican father. All nationalities and ethnicities with strong ties to Christianity and Catholicism. Young M.A. recently went on Shannon Sharp's podcast to discuss her childhood, death of a loved one, struggle with alcohol, career endeavors, and dating life. During the conversation about her dating life, the rapper let us know that she prefers straight women.
Most women I've dated was straight. You know what I'm saying? You flip them? I mean, I want to say flip. See, that, a lot of people get that misconstrued.
Okay, help you out.
Women that I end up dating don't mean they just gay now.
Right.
No, they still like men. They just they just attracted to me. And that's it. And after me, they move back on to men.
Damn.
That's it. You know what I mean? So a lot of people get that misconstrued.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gotta be gay, they need to be gay or they need to be straight X, Y, and Z.
Nah, I don't, I prefer straight. Whoa.
I've said it before on the channel and I'll say it again. Women who only date women and have a preference of dating straight women, they're fighting demons. I've seen it firsthand. In my opinion, it comes off as you are seeking validation from someone who is living a life that is considered to be more socially acceptable and enjoying the feeling of being the exception to the rule in someone's life. That's how I see it. Some may call it pick-meism. I just believe there are things that need to be worked through. But that
I think like a lot of this is trauma too. So we have to really focus on this more than anything. It is trauma. It is nuanced. It is personal. It is individual. You never know why someone is doing what they're doing. They have to introspect and decide, they have to figure that out. And I think that's the problem. If you're close to somebody, maybe you can help them figure it out. But there's so much going on in the world, girls. Like, do not take it for granted, especially if you're in this community, how much work you've done to get here, especially if you grew up religious like I did. We did a lot of work to get here. I mean, I couldn't even imagine, guys, just imagine a world where I come out tomorrow and I talk about being Christian. Like, my partner has permission to take me to the hospital for evaluation if that happens. Now, to be fair, I'm also not a grifting capitalist like Leo Skepi is. So I think what this is a grift. I just think it's the new thing. That's why Jeffree Star is doing it. It's just a really easy money-making thing. All the conservatives will platform you, you'll make a bunch of money, and then whatever. Right? Even Trisha did it. Trisha did her whole I love Jesus, whatever era. And it's all for money. That's what I'm saying. None of these people can be trusted. They all might be gay, and they might be trans, and they might be all these things, but they're not queer. You know what I'm saying? They're not queer people. they're gay people or trans people, which is fine. Like, you are LGBT, but like all LGBT doesn't mean you're progressive or liberal. I think because we grew up so conservative, we think like gay means liberal. It doesn't. And even if it does, like, what good is your liberalism if it's not leftist?
Also, probably doesn't matter to young MA, since she also advised that she's not a gay rapper.
I'm a different type of person, though. I'm not like gay rapper-ish type. You know, I'm just me.
Despite the mocking tone, I understood what she said as, my sexuality is not the center of my music. I could be misinterpreting, but that's what I understood it as. And that's fine. But you could have just said that. People within the community were pretty disappointed by this part of the interview. And I understand how one could view that statement as contradictory, since in her music, she does make many references to sex and women, as rappers do. And thus, the result of that is highlighting your sexuality, which will naturally attract members and allies of the community. Also, Young M.A said that she had crushes on girls in kindergarten. I know we don't push sexuality on kids, but she's an adult now and those feelings remain the same.
So at what age did you like, you know what? I'm not interested in you. I'm interested in her.
I don't like this idea of like not to push sexuality on kids. Like, sexuality is such a funny word because it makes it sound like we're saying sex. Sexuality doesn't have to necessarily involve sex. You know what I'm saying? So just like reminder that that is a conservative idea, that like you're pushing sexuality on kids. Like, first, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, that's just something that we should talk about.
Since I was in kindergarten, since I was little.
Damn, at that age.
Yes. I had my first attraction for this girl in my school when I was in kindergarten. And that's
Chet said a crush is not sex. Of course not. Exactly. No, attraction is not sex. You can be attracted to somebody and never have sex with them or want to have sex with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, asexual people exist. Perfectly happy marriages exist where nobody is having sex, but you can be very attracted to your partner. But sex is different than attraction. Not all attraction is sexual attraction. You know?
When I knew, like, it was the first time I think I ever seen a pretty girl my age. I still remember this day vividly.
That's pretty gay. And you're a rapper. So it wouldn't be incorrect to call you
gay rapper-ish.
I do understand not wanting to be defined as such. But nonetheless, it was disappointing for some of her fans to hear. She also said she couldn't date a woman that was taller than her.
Gotta be shorter than me. Or my height.
You okay?
Cannot be taller than me.
So despite the heteronormative lifestyle, that is not something she has in common with comedian Robbie Hoffman, who was recently on the Call Her Daddy podcast. Similar things were discussed in Robbie's interview, including her marriage to former bachelorette Gabby Windy. Robbie grew up in a practicing Jewish family, continuing our theme of a conservative background. And although she is no longer practicing, she is still very open about views that could be considered conservative.
No, the Hash Rabbit's got to be a dude, okay, and the model has got to be a girl. I don't want to. You're a male model?
Yeah, okay. So
men who are so into fashion and know what kind of jeans a woman's wearing, that really, just be gay.
While telling the story of how she met her wife at a lesbian or at least sapphic event, Robbie decided to emphasize how not gay she is.
Wait, how did you guys meet?
We met outside.
Of?
We were, there was like a little like event happening at a bar space.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was late to it because I work nights, and I got there to meet up with a friend, and we were all on our way out, and I got spotted by another lesbian who kind of looked like me, like one of the more boyish ones, even more boyish than me. So at this point I thought, well, let's get out of here. This is not the night. I'm like, I'm not gay like that. You know, somebody like that is looking at me. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not one of those. I'm not that gay.
What do you mean? God forbid she's approached by another woman with a vagina. Sorry, but if you're a woman with a flannel on, you better skedaddle. Better not catch you within 5 feet of Robbie Hoffman. Otherwise, she thinks you're going to rip her trousers off right then and there. Why was that the assumption? I do understand that she was saying she is not attracted to other masculine women and is also a comedian whose job it is to be funny and is...
You know what I mean? Just like, what are we dealing with here, bro? And that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, just because you've gone on a journey doesn't mean anybody else is. You know what I mean? Like, just because you've deconstructed doesn't mean other people have. It doesn't matter if it's 2026. New people are born every day and need to deconstruct all of these I'm not gay like that gay moment. You know, that's just how it is. A lot of gay people I know go through that phase. I'm not like other girls. I'm not like other gays. I'm not like other insert group here. And everybody has to go through their journey. That's why I say, like, even if you had a world that was perfectly peaceful and enlightened and everybody was perfect, everybody would be having babies and those babies go on journeys. That's why I'm saying even the most perfect parents in the world, which don't exist, you don't guarantee the outcome of your child and who they'll be. You bring down the probability that they'll be a bad person, you know? Let's see. Chat says, do Christians acknowledge ace folks or just want people to be virginal? The bubble I grew up in, as an example, they kind of think all women are almost like asexual, where like almost all women don't really want to have sex, but the men are horny, so the women have to, you know, because they don't believe in like, I don't know how to say this. Like some women brag about like, oh, we have good sex, because of the Lord Jesus Christ. But other people think like women are just like not into it. But that's because Christian women they're not doing foreplay. They're not using toys. They're not talking about lube. They're not taking sex classes. They're not learning about their clitoris. So there's also this idea that like Christian women aren't asexual. They wouldn't call it that. They say like, oh, women aren't interested in sex as much as men, versus acknowledging asexuality for what it is and like dating somebody who is on the ace spectrum or being. And then if you do and are with somebody who's on the ace spectrum, now it's a question of your marriage. Like, oh, is it even a good marriage? Which, by the way, a lot of liberals fall into. A lot of progressives and liberals, I would say more liberals, they will question your relationship's health if you're not having constant sex. And I'm like, you don't need to have sex all the time. I used to do that in my 20s. I used to think my relationship wasn't healthy if we weren't having sex like 3 times a day. And now I'm just like, that's so funny. Obviously, I was using it as a cope in my other relationships because the truth is the only time we weren't fighting is when we were fucking. So the reason we were having sex so often is because we were fighting every other moment. So sex felt like proof that our relationship was good because the sex was so good. Oops. My bad. Anyways, that was before therapy. Okay. I went to therapy.
On a podcast, so she's doing part of her job. I just didn't think that was funny. Probably because of the delivery.
Oh, no. I'm not one of those. I'm not that gay.
It just wasn't funny to me. I personally don't think because of the delivery.
These edits are good.
Oh, no. I'm not one of those. I'm not that gay.
It just wasn't funny to me. I personally don't think it's funny to other people in your community, to people who are outside of the community. Like,
yeah. Chad says, I guess the women who are not interested in sex is a part of the purity culture. Yeah, it's to be like, I'm not a horny, wanton woman, you know? And then the men gets complained about, like, these women, they never want to have sex. And I'm like, honestly, I feel devastated that everybody has such a horrible sex life. And also some part of me is like, you fucking deserve it for not using a goddamn vibrator. You deserve it for not looking into lube. Like, you're so fucking annoying. Like, you're so fucking annoying. You know what I mean? Like, just fucking buy some lube. Get a vibrator. You know what I mean? Stop being so fucking weird.
I'm gay, but I'm not that gay. To a heterosexual woman, that's not a funny joke.
Oh, guys.
No, don't make those sounds. I'm going to puke.
That you're also a part of. And if there was another gay person or host on the podcast, that would make sense. You as a part of the community and they as a part of the community are in on the joke. You guys are relating over an experience as part of a marginalized community, not necessarily trying to fit in as socially acceptable.
Like, I don't feel gay with Gabby because I'm like, okay, one's like kind of doing the boy weird thing and one's a girl. Like, we kind of have a heteronormative life. So like the only gay thing about me is that I'm gay. But other than that, I'm not even gay.
Yeah. That's how that works. But also, intersectionality exists. Being gay affects multiple parts of your life, including your career, because you make jokes about the LGBTQIA community, which are largely accepted because you are...
Hold on. Let me bring this up really fast. And then let me link the video now that I'm minimizing the page. Linking the video. Okay, hold on. Let me show you this. Because that reminds me of this video. When I hear people say like, oh, I'm not gay like that... This is what I think you're forgetting about, quote, gay like that. Hold on.
In 1980, I met a barman called John, and John was openly gay. And I asked John if he had a partner. Well, he had had a partner for 20 years, Stephen. He and Stephen had lived very happily together. And when they started living together, Stephen's family had refused to see him. So for 20 years, had not seen him. Stephen was in a very serious car accident and was in a coma and about to die. And John thought, I'm going to ring his family and tell him because I can't bear that they don't get to say goodbye. They came to the hospital. They had John removed from the premises. He was never allowed to see Stephen again. He did not stand with him when he died, and he was not allowed to attend the funeral. And that is because they were not married. I have never forgotten that story, and every time I stood up and campaigned, I did it for them. In 1980,
Ooh, don't make me cry. Ugh. Ugh. Do you know what I'm saying? So don't get on my TikTok in 2026 and talk about I'm not gay like that. Okay, you are, and you're gonna die alone, bro, because of the same people you're catering to. You're gonna die fucking alone with people who hate you, surrounded by people who don't even love you, bro. Well, your real loved ones are kept out of hospitals because you can't get fucking married.
You're not straight. You're married to a woman and you dress very Ellen DeGeneresly. Not that you have to be gay to dress Ellen DeGeneresly. I'm just saying, like, yeah, if you weren't gay, then you wouldn't be gay. That's how it works. And I get that she's saying her whole life is not rooted in homosexuality, pride, and vaginas. Understandable. But that wasn't even the question.
I don't love the way Donnie keeps mentioning vaginas. It's a little transphobic to me. Like, what do genitals have to do with anything? You know what I mean? Like, I don't love that because I don't know what that signals. So I'm getting a little uncomfortable with the amount we've heard vagina twice now. You know what I mean? Like, what do vaginas have to do with anything, you know?
You're just describing how you met your wife, dude. These are her thoughts on pride, by the way.
Do you celebrate Pride?
Do I go to Pride?
Yeah.
What am I doing at Pride? You gotta be proud to be a Pride.
It's protest.
You're not proud?
No, gain a shame to the day I die. Just leave us out of it. We had nothing to do with the Pride festivities. I never would have come up with a parade.
Wait. They're not involved?
I hate when people don't know the history of Pride. I hate when people don't know the history of Pride and they just fucking open their mouth. It's so annoying to me. Please fucking read a book, listen to an audiobook, ask somebody. I just hate it because people really don't know and it's so fucking annoying. See, queer versus gay. Queer versus gay. Do you know your queer history? Do you know what being queer is philosophically? Oh, I hate this.
We are not involved.
Why
This is a
aren't
gay
lesbians
man's
involved?
Let's march naked down the street. That is a gay man. We would have stayed home with the cat. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not marching in the
You
sun.
weren't part of the committee.
No. And I wish they would ask me more. You know, chicks get mad at me. People get mad at me. It's so funny. Queer people think I never do nothing for the queer community. I get a lot of flack that they didn't see me at Pride or I didn't post enough about Brittany Griner's triumphant return to the U.S., that I don't do enough for the community. Do you see what I got done? Sam, do you see what I got done? My wife had...
What are you talking about her? God, I did not like this woman before, but I'm really not a fan right now.
25 boyfriends. She was the Bachelorette. She had 25 boyfriends 3 years ago. Did I get it done? I'm an inspiration to this community. Am I not?
You really are.
I'm the Michael Jordan of this motherfucking community. They could have a float for me at Pride. Maybe then I'll show up.
Personally, I stopped taking just about everything Robbie said seriously when she said her wife shops at Erewhon regularly.
I mean, I'm sorry to say, people are not going to lie. Gabby orders from Erewhon more than I would like.
I looked in the comment section to see if there were any opinions about her statements on the gays and the girls, and seemingly everyone was mostly concerned about her statement regarding celiac disease.
Oh yeah, listen to this.
Everybody is suddenly celiac.
Yeah, like I don't think people of my parents' generation.
Like, remember when we were kids, probably everybody was allergic to peanuts?
Okay, you know how we can't give men microphones anymore? Take it away from white women too. No microphones for white women.
I never hear that anymore because it's not cool anymore.
Such a good point. Comment down below if you have a gluten allergy.
They had, by the way, they're coming for us. And fine, I believe you. I'm also...
We don't care, but we're curious.
Is it an allergy or a preference?
It seems as though most of Robbie's content isn't really catered to the LGBTQIA plus community, and her content not necessarily being catered towards the community is perfectly fine. I'm not saying the gays don't love her. She has plenty of gays that love her. But I just find the constant need to punch down at the queer community a bit strange, at least throughout this interview. I didn't sit down and watch all of her comedy specials or anything like that. So if I'm wrong, maybe someone can correct me in the comments. Lastly, I'll briefly touch on EJ Johnson's statements from earlier this year. EJ Johnson is known for being a TV personality and also the son of basketball star Magic Johnson. I believe EJ said that their parents were from Michigan and were devout Christians. So that continues the narrative of conservative background.
I don't attract gay men, and I'm not attracted to gay men. Like, it's just not a thing.
Tell me more about that.
You know, I think like if you ask any of the girls, like they'll tell you the same.
Can the girls come forward and elaborate, please?
And also, what do you mean by not attracted to a gay man? Are you not a gay man? A femme gay man? Am I confused?
The man isn't gay, then how can he be attracted to you? I would say that they're referring to bi or pansexual or no label men.
And I think they're just labels. You know, that's what, like, I don't care what, you know, like I'm dating someone. I'm like, I don't care what you identify as or what you call yourself.
So you're pansexual. You're not a gay man. You're a pansexual. Are you a gay? Are you a woman? Are you a they, them? What's their pronouns? No, son, gay man. Wait, pansexual man?
As long as you're happy being who you are.
But they also say this.
But no, to be honest, it's like, that's why I don't go to gay clubs. I don't go to, gay things, because it's like the men that I attract are not there. These are not my men in terms of attraction. Now, if I'm just going to have a kiki, sure. But like, these are not the men that are interested in me in that capacity. I do that when I go to the straight rooms.
Why do people want to be fetishized so badly? Why do you want to be objectified so badly? From women who send thirst traps to Hassan Piker to gay men who go after straight men. Like, why do you want to be fetishized so fucking badly? That's what I want to know. Why do you want to be objectified? You know, in all my years of BDSM, I never did bimbofication, and I never did objectification stuff because don't even fucking piss me off. Don't even fucking piss me off. Guys, please deconstruct this. I beg you to meditate on this. I beg you to stop wanting to be desired by your oppressors, because that's what this sounds like to me. What is this desire to be fetishized and chased and pursued by people who will never fucking pick you and will always see you as less? It's like you're trying to, what are we doing here?
I think EJ is likely referring to men who do not consider themselves gay, or men that primarily date women, or simply
it's like a game. It's like a fucking game.
Masculine men who are not feminine. I'm confused. EJ also doesn't use the term gay for themselves any longer. That being said, stating that you are not attracted to gay men as a person who dates men that are attracted to men is a statement. I personally would apply the same logic that I apply to women with a preference of straight women. It's giving seeking validation, which is surprising considering how confident EJ comes off. Nonetheless, I'm not a queer or gay man, so if anyone is able to add some perspective about EJ's statements in the comments, would love to read it. Honestly, I do understand.
And obviously, guys, when I say go to therapy, I'm saying because we know something's wrong with you. You're seeking love and affection. You're seeking validation. You want to be seen as the normal one. You're appealing to the masses. Blah, blah, blah. Bored. Go to therapy. Read philosophy books. Meditate. It's like at some point with peace and love, I cannot hold your hand through something we've been saying for fucking thousands of years. Go work on yourself. Literally do the work, because everybody else is suffering because you won't do the work. That's every man in this system who's giving into patriarchy. Every person who won't fucking work on themselves. It's everybody else's responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It's the gay community. They're the problem. It's not my responsibility. It's women. They're the problem. It's not my responsibility. It's this group. It's their problem. It's your problem. And now you're making it my problem. Please do less. Speak less. Go work on yourself.
And
Peace
relate
and love.
to some parts of the stances we've heard today, but it gets to a point, especially in today's climate. Obviously, I do not represent all of the LGBTQIA plus community. There are plenty of people who agree with Leo Skeppy, has the same opinions as Young M.A., enjoy Robbie Hoffman, and find her humor to be relatable, and agree with EJ Johnson.
That's what I'm saying. Girlies, listen to me. You wonder why I think Hassan Piker does misogyny all the time, and then you look at gay people who are doing it and you think he's not doing it. That's what I'm saying. This is a white straight man who said he's never been to therapy to work on his issues, but talks about his issues all the time. You know what I'm saying? Of course he has problems. Of course these people have problems. Of course we all have problems. You saw it in my past work. You can literally see my trauma played out in real life, and that doesn't mean you can weaponize people's trauma against them. That doesn't mean Hassan shouldn't have a platform. That doesn't mean people should have a platform. It means people need to work on shit, and we need to recognize all of us are traumatized. Trump? You want to talk about daddy issues? Trump. This man has daddy issues. That's what I'm saying. Like, guys, you don't have to weaponize people's mental health against them to say we're all fucking traumatized. We need to do the work. We need to do the work for the rest of our lives. We need to do the work. Okay, some people have it worse. That is true. Some people have it easier. That is true. You have to know where you are, and you have to know what, is going to help you. You need to change your life by changing who you are and changing your relationship with self. That's why we do philosophy, because ultimately, therapy is for your mental health. Philosophy is for your why you do what you do. You have to have a good relationship with how you labor and make money and support yourself, whether that's community efforts or individual efforts, whatever. You have to have a good relationship with your body. Got to go to the doctor. Got to figure out what's, maybe going on with you if you're chronically ill like I am or something. It's going to make a world of difference, Trez says, can you be queer but straight? It depends on what you mean by straight. It's dependent. It depends what you mean by straight. It really does, because there's a lot of nuances here. You can be queer and be straight. Depends on what you mean by straight and what qualifies you as a straight person. It depends. There is a word called an ally. So depending on the kind of straight you are, you could either be an ally or you could be queer. You could be an ally that believes in queer philosophy, okay? Or you can just be an ally. It depends. Okay?
Diddy's treatment, and that's okay. Do you? Would love to hear from you in the comments as well, respectfully. I understand that being.
Hold on, Chet says, where do you cross the line? Wait, where do you think the line is? Because I'd argue Trump shouldn't have a platform even if he changed because of his abuse. Hold on. Why did I said Hassan Piker doesn't mean Hassan Piker shouldn't have a platform. And then you guys went to the president of the United States who has 32 felonies and has literally caused the death of children in Iran and has literally stopped people from being able to just exist and kidnapped people using ICE and his executive power. Right? You know what I'm saying? I said specifically what I said about Hassan, specifically, because I didn't want people to think I believed Hassan should be deplatformed. I don't. I said that specifically about Hassan Piker. I'm not saying that about Trump. Trump would be a different situation.
A part of the community is indeed not.
Yeah, Chess said I was just trying to follow your logic about trauma. Yeah, and I recognize the way that I speak. My partner says my brain works too fast, and sometimes it sounds like I skipped and I didn't explain it to people, so I'll work on that. And I have gotten that feedback from my audience that, like, to me, it's so obvious, but they say a lot of people say I skip the how I got there, so that's, okay, those are two different thoughts. Hassan Piker, I'm not saying he needs to be deplatformed. Trump, it's not about whether or not he deserves a platform. Legally, he has access to one, but given the accountability that he would have to be put through for what he has done, he would have access to one. So these are two different thoughts, you know.
Not all rainbows and sunshine. See what I did there? People can have insanely high expectations of you. People will push their own values on you. Be judgmental, be exclusionary, expect you to be a spokesperson, etc. The LGBTQIA plus space is not perfect, as with most, if not all, communities. And at the end of the day, I just hope everyone is able to be in community with people who love and appreciate, support, and uplift them, and understand that it's okay to be gay. That's it. That's the video. If you watched this entire thing, thank you. You're great. Amazing.
Donnie, this is Donnie, small creator, 11,000 subs. I don't assume they're a she, her, not a they, them, because I feel like they would have mentioned that before. But they also didn't say they were lesbian, right? So a little confused about pronouns. I also don't see it in their profile. Oh, maybe because I'm not subscribed. Hold on. I've subscribed now. And no, I still don't see pronouns. Maybe they don't use pronouns. I don't even know how old they are. Who knows? But there you go. I thought that was fun. That was a good video.
I feel like
I'm glad it came up on my timeline. Let me post their link again. Great video. Loved it. Oh, look, Anthony's live.
So Math Core Elysium shared. Oh, so let's talk about Ethan. So then Ethan gets in on the fun. Ethan Klein gets in on the fun and makes kind of an insane statement, but one that he's made before. He shared this on his Instagram story. First, he shares Brandon Buckingham's.
I feel like I'm.
Okay, so we're done with this video. I wonder, yeah, chat says, I think people think being queer versus being trans is easier. And because you don't want to unpack the gender shit, people will, what's this word? Validation by dating someone who will passively validate. I definitely think it's layered for everybody. And I think there's so much that is at play here. I think that's the problem. Dating is political and it's personal. So not everything that's personal is political, and not everything that is political is personal. So it's hard, but the personal can be political. So the dilemma is, like, who you date matters. Because most people aren't just dating because they like this person. They're dating because they're like, oh, this person's hot, or this person's a certain ethnicity, or this person has money, or this person has access, or this person has, you know. So I think the dilemma is you have to know why you're really with this person. Are you with this person because you guys got pregnant? Are you with this person because you arranged married? Are you with this person because, and I think the problem is, like, we haven't even started to really have those conversations. And I think that's what's so hard. And so again, this channel, I say it again 100 times, you cannot hold out for outcome. You have to do the right thing regardless of the outcome. And you have to be a little less bad every day. And you have to work on yourself so you can become a good community member. But there are so many layers to this that I think that's going to be a big problem here. You know what I mean? Chad said, Bray, can you please give an example of something that is personal but not political? Sure, actually. This just happened this morning. I can show it to you. Hold on, let me grab it. Let's see. Okay. So this happened as an example on my R word video about R word is making a comeback. And I said it never left. You know that video? Someone said, hey, just because you don't identify with a slur doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to you. You can have it. You don't have to reclaim it, but it definitely applies to you. This is your fight too. I think they just called me the R word. But you know what I mean? They said I'm autistic and it stabs me in the heart whenever I hear that word. It does apply to us. This is why we must rally against it. I said, hey, I'm not saying this isn't my fight. There's the personal and then there's the political. There's the personal that is political. These are different things. I'm just saying I don't feel any specific way about the word any more than any words that are meant to be hurtful if used against me. Like someone could call me stupid in a certain context and that would be just as hurtful to me. I agree we should move people in a different direction. When we protest, it's because we are all here for the fight. Or sorry, why we protest is different, but we are all here to fight. No, this is a philosophy channel and we explore why, what we do, not just the end result of how we got here. I think sometimes people focus on the end results instead of the why, and then they wonder why people don't care. It's because it's not personal for them. I don't personally feel impacted by the R word any more than I do any other word that's hurtful, because like, if you're trying to hurt me, you could use a word that's any word and it would hurt my feelings, right? The R word, it personally impacting this person and saying like for them, it's so personal. That's okay. Their personal has now become political. But for me, it's not personal, but it is political, right? Like, that's why I don't like when people say like, don't you feel this way? No, but that doesn't mean I won't fight for you because I don't have to feel this way to fight for you, right? So I think these things are different. I also think like, why I do something, that's why I say deconstruct, 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 right? Political is a construct. It doesn't exist. It only exists because we engage with it. You first exist. You are born free. You are born free. And so when people say like, no, you're born into a cage. Yeah. So the cage is from what? Okay, the cage is your political construct. Like I am born free first and foremost. And then I'm a product of my environment and a combination of my introspection level and my limitation of my biological experience because free will is an illusion, right? So when we have conversations, the point is like, I don't need it to impact me for me to care. And I think that some people don't operate that way, which is fine. I think that's probably a biological experience you're having. But I can see why it hurts you. And if it hurts you, like I will do something about it. That's how I think of it. So it's, again, personal would be like, oh, this personally impacts me. Like if someone called me the N-word, which they have in the past, they called me a sand N-word. Okay. That's not going to hit me the same way it might hit a black person. But obviously, like, it's not personal to me because it just doesn't hit the same way. Like, okay, why are you calling me that? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know what to do with that. It's not the same thing as like, a black person having to hear that from childhood, a black child having to hear that from childhood, a black adult having to hear that before they are gunned down by the police. Like that's a completely different context. I don't need to know what that is like personally for me to care about it. You know what I mean? When people call me like gay slurs, you know what I mean? Like I am scared of the use of the gay slur if I think I'm dealing with a homophobe and then it could be reclaimed in another social context. I think for me, like, I separate these things out. Like one time my sister and I, oh my God, one time we were talking and we started getting into an argument. We were pretty young and then we got angry. And then I think I called her a cunt. And we both went, and we froze. And I was like, our bad. I think that's how it went. I'll have to ask her. But either way, when we looked at each other, we're like, my bad. But in another situation, we could literally call each other cunt. It could be totally like neutral. You know what I mean? Like fun. So it's not even the word you're using. It's the context in which you're using the word. You know what I mean? Which actually, wait, that reminds me of this TikTok.
We want to get right back to
Hold on. This reminds me of this TikTok. Hold on. It really woke us up though. It was so funny because we're like, you know what? My bad. Too far. Hold on. Let me look for this TikTok and then I'll read chat before I show it to you and then we'll go from there. Okay, hold on. Oh, where is this TikTok? It's so funny. Hold on, let me show it to you. Somebody said, like, what is the psychology behind this? Oh, where is it? Please let me find it. Oh, it's so funny. I even saved it to show it to you, but I saved it a long time ago. So many things have happened since then. Oh, let's see. Oh my God, so many things have happened since then. Holy fuck. Oh my God. I really saved like 1,000 TikToks since then. Hold on. This one. Okay, I found the TikTok.
Out of every
Okay, hold on. Before I go to it, let me check chat really fast because I don't want it to get away from me. Hold on. Let's see. Chat says I tend to see all of my political choices as potentially political. Yeah, potentially, maybe. But you know, when I fart in my living room, I don't think that's political. It could be if I farted in public during a protest at a police officer. But if I just farted in my living room, I don't really think that's political. I'm pretty sure I just ate a lot of broccoli because I'm plant-based. But if I fart at a police officer, I'll have you know that is 100% political, okay? Sometimes even farting can be political, but not always, right? And that's how I try to think about it. Like, is this fart political? You know, that's really what we should be asking ourselves, you know? Let's see. Chat said the big issue is the lack of empathy I think most people have. How do we fix that? Well, empathy is learned. It's biological and it's learned. So you have to figure out how much of it you need to learn. But I think you need to teach your kids how to be empathetic. But people take it for granted and think kids just know. They're animals on a planet. It's like a dog. You have to teach your dog not to nip or bite. You have to teach people to be, we're animals. That's what I'm saying. People don't believe they're animals. You believe you're better than animals. You're not. You are an animal. And so because you're an animal, you have to redo everything we know about humanity. We need to teach people to be nice and kind. You need to teach people. And that's really, really hard for people because they really think they're better than, you know, animals. They think they're like enlightened. They think they've transcended nature. You are nature experiencing itself. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Okay. Watch this video. Those crack me up.
Out of every curse word in the world, what's your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Why?
You guys mine?
Yeah, what's yours?
Probably cunt.
Stop it! That's a fucking disgusting word. Don't say that word.
What's your favorite curse word?
Motherfucker.
What's your favorite curse word?
What do you mean? Mine's cunt. Moran! No. Yeah, but what's your favourite one?
My favourite one's probably twat.
Mine's cunt.
Ruby, knock it off.
I'd say probably a fat cunt.
Ruby! Jesus Christ, woman.
What's your favourite curse word, Nana?
Son of a bitch.
Fake? Fake?
Fake.
Mine is cunt.
Megan! Stop that. Megan!
Yeah,
I'm always saying that, for fuck's sake.
mine's bollocks.
Mine's cunt.
What's your favourite swear word?
I don't really got one. I sometimes go shit. Or
Is that your favourite swear word?
no, I don't know.
Mine's cunt.
Ah! Don't say that word. I hate that word. That's the one word.
Okay, what's your favorite curse word?
I'll put it this way: I never beep curse in my life.
Okay, do you want to know what mine is?
What?
Cunt.
No, Tara, delete. I don't want that. That's shocking. No, get rid of that.
Tara.
What is your favourite curse word? You can say whatever curse word you want. It's okay. Anything.
I don't know. Be a toss up between motherfucker and
Motherfucker.
Motherfucker.
Wanker. I like those. You know what mine is?
What?
Cunt.
Out of
So funny to me to watch, especially parents or grandparents or uncles. That shit is so funny. Tara, Megan, they're just like Megan. Yeah, you can't just use that word though. It really is context based, you know? You can't just go around people calling people the C word. It's very context based, you know what I mean? So anyways, fuck, that shit makes me laugh, bro. You know, chat says, I know this is funny, but to be serious, I feel like a lot of other women are having big reactions because the word may have been paired with gendered violence they experienced when they were younger. Oh, 100%. 100%. You know, my mom would always say, you know, it hurts God's feelings for you to say bad words. And that's why I was like, I'm going to say every word I'm allowed to say. I'm going to say all of them if I can say them, you know, because like no one's going to tell me what to say. Fuck God, you know? And then the issue is like words do have meanings. They're attached to culture. They can be political. They cannot be political. They can be cultural, right? They can be cultural and political. And this is why we can't black and white things. This is why I'm sick. You know, every time I have a person come into my chat and goes, well, if black people don't like the N-word, maybe they shouldn't say it in rap songs. Blocked. Blocked. I'm a black person and I think the N-word should blocked. I'm a gay person and I don't think blocked. If you're not going to hold nuance with words and context, blocked. Okay? Like, this is why we have to have these conversations because we, you know, I don't want to go in this direction of like, look, this is all, it's all made up, but it's made up for a reason. It's weaponized for a reason. It's political for a reason. It's neutral for a reason. This is why when I talk about your sexual fantasies, look, I don't judge people for the kind of sex they have in their bedrooms unless the kind of sex they have in the bedrooms is not deconstructed and it's dangerous. But I don't care what your fantasies are. I don't care what kind of porn you watch until I do care. I don't care what you call your boyfriend in bed unless I do think it matters. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't care about the kink you're playing out unless I need to care. You're going to make me care? I don't care what words you use unless I need to care. That's what I'm saying. Like, when we have these conversations, I don't want to have to care. Don't make me care. Use your words carefully. Okay? Think about the fantasies you're playing out. Think about the porn you're watching. But I'm not going to write people off automatically. I'm going to ask, why are you into that? Okay? Why do you like that? Why is that what gets you going? I'm not going to shame you for what turns you on, but I also have some questions. You know? Discord said when that person mentioned being straight as well, straight doesn't always mean cis either, so you can still be straight and queer even under the yeah, that's what I meant by it depends, right, chat? Like that's what I meant by it depends, because you know, just because you're straight doesn't mean you're cis. That's why I said it matters. I don't know. What do you mean by straight? Why are you straight? What's the context of that? Are you also trans? Like there's layers to this. That's why I say we don't know, right? That's exactly what I was thinking too, Discord. Exactly. Okay, now let's do this. And again, you know what's frustrating a little bit is like sometimes there's this dilemma where you know, okay. Whether you're using a certain word or not, sometimes even the way you write your sentences makes me not trust you. Not anyone in particular. Even the way someone uses punctuation makes me go, I don't know about that. Because when we're talking about communication, everything is a form of communication. And sometimes the way people, even when I decide if I'm going to ban somebody or not, I'm like, their sentence structure is giving psychopath. It's giving will stab me in the parking lot. And I can't decide if I should ban this person because of the way they use their periods. And I know other people are like, that's crazy, Brittany, but that's because you're not even thinking, bro. I swear to God, some people are so moving through the world like, la, 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 la. They have no idea that they're standing right in front of a fucking neo-Nazi because you didn't learn the weird 4chan way of speaking and communicating to each other, so you don't know the dog whistle. You know what I mean? Or you don't know this person needs to be institutionalized, but with love and care because they are definitely going to stab us accidentally. Okay? Like some of the ways that people type, some of the guys with peace and love, respectfully, sometimes I will log onto Instagram and read my DMs from you. Some of you, respectfully. I opened up this Instagram comment once and bro, I was like this for at least a whole 60 seconds. And I was like, what did you think was going to happen here, guys? When you wrote me a message that was literally fucking the Bible length. What do you think you're communicating to me in this moment? Do you think you're communicating safety, or do you think you're communicating obsessed? Do you think maybe that should have gone in a journal rather to a stranger on Instagram, where I'm literally like, it is so shocking to me. I go to my partner and I just do this. And he's like, holy fuck, when's it going to end? I was like, and they're just lecturing me. This is how I think you should do your stream. And I actually think when I see you do this, you should do this. Oh, and by the way, the clothing choices you've taken. Oh, and by the way, the way you use this word in this sentence, I actually didn't like. And I'm like, so again, when I exist in a world with 8 billion people, all of which are animals on a planet, I am more and more like cautious without being paranoid. But a lot of you are fucking weird. Okay, a lot of you are signaling not safe and you don't even know it because you're just thinking like, I don't know. Listen, we've all done weird social situations. I've sent some cringy ass DMs to people, okay? I'm with you. But when you said I block a fucking text, do you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing here? Especially in a lecturing form, shocking. Absolutely shocking. It's like, I'll never forget that person when I used to have a Twitter who took a literal picture of me with a baby in a park that I was nannying, posted it on Twitter and tagged me and said, just saw Brittany Simon at the park. What is the fuck wrong with you? That's what I'm saying. Like, the world is fucked up because we're all fucked up. I could never imagine doing that to somebody, and that will never leave me. I don't know if this person even still watches me because that was 10 years ago, but to this day, I will never forget how crazy that was, opening up my Twitter and seeing a baby that I was nannying on the internet. Like, and I was like, take that down. And they took it down. But I was like, just think about the fact that you did that. Now, I have to assume they're young people, but even then, that's what I say, like, young people, old people, it doesn't matter. We're not thinking. That's what I'm saying. We have to think before we do things. Anyways, yeah, chat says especially the essay length comments with no grammar, paragraph breaks. Nobody's got time for that. Nobody's got time for that. The way I literally scroll and I go, oh, Habibi, I'm not reading all that. I'm not reading all that with peace and love. You know what I mean? Absolutely not. But anyways, it's again, I don't want, this is how I felt with the Tyler Catastrophe video where people didn't understand. I was like, it's the way he talks. And they're like, oh, the way he talks, Brittany. And I was like, don't do that to me. You know, there's a type of person, all types of people that when they talk a particular way, that's what we mean. We're like, the way you're saying that. Like when if a man came up to me in the street and said, oh my gosh, I love your nail color. Thank you. Another man came into the street. I really love your nail color. Okay, bro. Hey, bro, I really like your feet. Would you mind taking off your shoes? Okay. See, the way you talk, the things you say, why are we acting like the way people talk doesn't matter? Like, you know what I mean? Don't say, obviously, deconstruct your white supremacy, deconstruct your homophobia, deconstruct your prejudice. But if I am in a progressive bubble and I'm saying, hey, the way you're talking is confusing. Can you signal safety, please? And you're just like not doing it. It's annoying to me. It's not the way his voice sounds. It's not the way he moves his body. It's not the way he looks. It's the way you signal not safe. I'm confused. Why aren't you signaling safety? I'm asking you for a safety check. Okay? That's what I'm asking you for. I don't understand what's happening and why you're talking to me that way. You know? It's like so weird that people, you know what's crazy too? Is like, I saw somebody leave a comment on my video that was like, oh my God, signaling safety. That's so cool, Brittany. Thank you for introducing me to that idea. And then they saw me Chelsea Fagan video about Ariana and they were like, you're obsessed. You just hate Chelsea. Da 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 da. Hello? Like, it's like people don't understand how loosey-goosey they are about their values. Here we are praising signaling safety, and then here we are like doing the absolute opposite. And again, signaling safety is specific for bubbles. So if I'm in a Catholic Christian bubble, the way you signal safety looks like transphobia. The way you signal safety is anti-immigration. The way every community has a way to signal safety. And that's why I say, hey, what community are you in? How do I signal safety to you? So when I'm with Christians, I know how to signal safety to them. So I don't get fucking hate crimed. When I'm with marginalized people, I try my best to signal safety to them so they know it's cool. And that's what I want for people to learn is like signaling safety doesn't look like one size fits all. When I say read the room, it doesn't look like one size fits all. It also can mean and apply to not calling 911 on your neighbor who's celebrating the Knicks so her dog doesn't get killed. When I say read the room, I say, hey, that person's having an autistic meltdown. And if you call the cops on them, they might get shot. That's also a part of reading the room. Reading the room isn't just for autistic people. It's for all people. You know, read the social situation. You're being rude. You know, and if you can't, ask somebody for help. If you can't read the room, ask somebody for help. Say, hey, I don't really know what's going on. Can you tell me? I've done that 1,000 times with my partner. We'll be in a Croatian situation. It's a social situation. I have no clue what's fucking going on. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, I can't tell. I can't read the social situation and I'm scared. And that's when you rely on your community to communicate because like, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It's a very scary feeling to feel like you don't know what's going on and it might be an emergency. So I'm very empathetic. That's why I say like, we have to work together to signal like groundedness as well. Like I can trust where you're coming from because I feel like you're making sense with your sentence structure. I was listening to a vegan call-in show the other day, and these kids just kept calling in and using the N-word, you know? And it's just like, bro, you know, I couldn't even deal with the amount of trolls. But that's what I'm saying. That's not signaling safety. They think they're like being so funny. Or these guys they'll signal safety. They'll be like, yes, I want to talk about veganism. And the host will be like, okay, how old are you? Are you an adult? And they're like, yeah, I'm an adult. And they're like, okay, what do you know about vegans? And they'll say, oh, I know that veganism is gay. And I'm like they'll learn to signal safety and then they'll give it up. So the thing is like, yes, people can lie to you and signal safety and then you trust them and then they trick you. But those people are just liars and tricksters. You know, that doesn't mean people aren't authentically trying to signal safety, you know? Right? Chess says to bring it back to the earlier discussion, could some of these gay people who make a big deal out of liking straight people be trying to signal safety to the straights? Sure. But it doesn't end up looking like safety. It ends up looking like confusion to straight people because they're not going to get it. So then it's like, you're trying to seek validation from us. You're trying to signal to us, but we don't get it. We don't trust you. So even if we give you credit, like Shannon Sharp gave, Little Ma, no, Young Ma, Young Ma, some social credit when he said to her, oh, you hold yourself accountable. That's not typical for women. You know, women don't typically hold themselves accountable. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, there's a, like, what do you, and that's why the irony is like, he's still not going to pick you, girl. Like, he's still not going to treat you like a man or give you that social credit. So why are we doing that? You know what I mean? But yeah, everyone who's trying to signal safety and everyone's trying to not to get killed. I think that's the other part people are missing. All of us are trying not to get killed or raped or stabbed. And I think the fact that every social situation everyone goes into, everyone, is that we're actually terrified of all those things happening to us and people aren't saying it out loud. Men are just as scared of socializing with other men as we are scared. They sometimes don't think about it. They're not always as scared as every single person. But I know men are absolutely also thinking like, uh-oh. You know, not all the time, not in the same way, but they know the feeling. They just forget to offer it to everybody else, you know? And so that's why I think like we have to work on these things, you know? We do have to work on reading the room, reading the bubble, understanding the cultural situation. Like the other day when I saw this video, this TikTok about Afghanistan girls and it was all feministy and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I was like, something is really off about this video. And I went to the profile and it was a TERF channel and I was like, oh, there it is. There it is. Have all the flack for Muslim people and none of the flack for Christian people. Have all, like when Charlie Kirk said, these Muslims, it's so funny to see the gay flag next to the Palestinian flag. Well, it's funny to see the gay flag next to the American flag as well. You think America is less homophobic than Palestine. Joke's on you. In Charlie Kirk's perfect world, gay marriage is made illegal. So it would be just as ironic to have the gay flag next to the American flag as it would the gay flag next to the Palestinian flag. You leave Palestinians alone, sir. Oh, I guess you can't harm them anymore. So a win is a win, girls. A win is a win. Okay, let's take a break and then we'll come back and we'll talk some more. Okay, let's take a break. Okay. Pausing in 1, 2, 3. All right. Sorry, I had to stuff my face with a vegan cookie. Okay, let's watch some news because I don't understand what this is and I want to watch it with you.
A secret society of some of the world's wealthiest and most powerful elites just got exposed. And yes, it is at least as weird as you are probably imagining. You've got sex advice, cult building guides, a whole lot of talk about the coming apocalypse, and there are famous actors, podcasters, politicians, billionaires, the folks who essentially kind of run the world, try to create narratives with very little democratic input from the rest of us. Right? And so it's called Dialogue. It was co-founded in 2006 by the far-right tech entrepreneur Peter Thiel, and it's extremely secretive. Like everything that is said and done there, it is strictly off the record, it's invite only, and they kept their members list hidden ever since its founding. Only on a couple of occasions has something leaked, like most recently when Jeffrey Epstein's invitation to their 2014 retreat surfaced in the Epstein files. Right, and on that, he also wrote in a 2016 email to a Japanese venture capitalist, Peter Thiel loved the secret society idea. He has done a lot of work on the concept. But really, otherwise, for the last 20 years, Dialogue has done a surprisingly good job at keeping things under wraps, I will say, until now, because a Swiss hacktivist, the same one who leaked the US government's no-fly list a few years ago, she says that she got tipped off to a vulnerability in Dialogue's website. And when I say vulnerability, I mean any random person could just look at the site's HTML code and find a directory with a list of names, which I have to imagine is just the most ridiculous, embarrassing fuck up for a super secret club created by Palantir tech bros who are supposed to be the best minds in data, surveillance, and security. And then on top of that, another source gave Wired the list of people registered to attend this year's Dialogue retreat, which is being held at a venue near Dublin, Ireland, and includes 222 names. Now, I will say it's unclear who's a full member and who's just a guest, but the variety of figures is astonishing. Like, let's go through some. Elon Musk, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, former Harvard president Larry Summers, New York Times commentator Ezra Klein, also Democratic Senator Cory Booker, Republican Senator Ted Cruz, Democratic Governor of Maryland Wes Moore, former Republican Governor of Indiana Mitch Daniels. This is fun. Let's keep going. The actor Josh Brolin, podcaster Sam Harris, Scooter Braun. You can think of him as a former talent manager or current boyfriend of Sydney Sweeney. You've also got the chief executives for The Atlantic, YouTube, and the Anti-Defamation League, the co-founder of Intuit, the global vice president for Google, and on and on and on with huge business executives. Right? And there are lawyers, economists, journalists, religious leaders, just about every kind of person that you could imagine that has some sort of power, right? Some sort of influence. So also one of the things that ties them together, it might be their answers to the question on the sign-up form asking them to predict the future. Because Wired reported that again and again, respondents said that AI would reorder work, war, education, and belief within a few years. Reporting several people foresee mass labor displacement and a swing back toward unions and government programs. Others predict an AI winter, domestic terrorism targeting data centers, criminal defendants choosing AI lawyers over public defenders, or religious revival provoked by the disruption. Also for another question, asking them to list their talents, a few of them gave some pretty weird answers, writing stuff like funhouse construction, accent imitation, backcountry skiing, urban exploration, and meditative and psychedelic inquiry into the nature of reality. Just say you like doing LSD or mushrooms. Like, why don't be hoity-toity? Also, one person put compassion and existential dread, while another answered dinner parties, keeping secrets, remembering birthdays. Also, if any attendants are looking for love, they can enter Dialogue's matchmaking service, which apparently is a thing, which offers meaningful connections for exceptional people. But then
people always are fucking. I'm telling you guys, this is why I don't do retreats or hang out with you guys in public, because everybody ends up fucking. That's just what happens. We're animals. We literally, everybody just ends up fucking.
Also at the same time, these exceptional people, there's reportedly a guide for event moderators that coaches them to model brief introductions to avoid status signaling. And then as for the events themselves, they're mostly discussions with titles like Money Does Buy Happiness, Bring Back Nuclear, Navigating World War III, Battlefield Technology, How's Your Sex Life, Build a Party, and Build a Cult. But also, in addition to the fun about either trying to fuck a hottie or fuck society, you have Wired pointing out that there are arguably some serious ethical
Can you guys hear those notifications? I don't know if you can hear them. If you can, I'll try to figure out how to turn them off.
lines being blurred here. Because not only does Dialogue concentrate private and political power all in one place where nobody is allowed to talk about what is going on, it also puts business executives in the same room with the very people who are meant to regulate them. And so, for example, you've got Oren Hoffman, the major data broker who co-founded Dialogue with Peter Thiel, listed alongside Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Senator Ted Cruz, who directly oversees data privacy rules. And then there's Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale, whose company contracts with the Pentagon, intelligence agencies, and ICE, listed alongside the Army Secretary, the general who heads U.S. European Command, and Jim Himes, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee. And reportedly, every single one of these people registered with personal or corporate email addresses instead of their government accounts, which means none of their involvement in Dialogue is subject to public records laws. And so, yeah, Another day goes by where I have to apologize to a friend of mine who I thought was just a fucking conspiracy theorist for the past 10 years. But hey, actually, maybe it's all above board and there's nothing nefarious going on and everyone is making sure no ethical lines get crossed.
Or maybe you're gay, okay? Hold on, it's my WhatsApp. Hold on, my mother-in-law is messaging me. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay. I think I did it. Okay, let's get moving because I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh, fuck. I was fighting a really bad headache and then a really bad possible migraine yesterday. I wasn't sure what it was, but it's coming back, I think. I can feel it. I'm used to having chronic headaches and I'm used to being hospitalized for migraines, but I feel it. And I took an ibuprofen, which usually does help mitigate pain, but it's not going to help really with a migraine, but it helps me. It always helps me when I have a migraine or a headache, but I'm worried it's coming back. So I have so many more stories I wanted to tell you. Hold on. What do I do? I just don't want to trigger it again. Last night was not a fun night. Hold on. Let me think. What do I do? Let's do this. Okay. Let's do this next story because I think it would be interesting. If I feel really bad by the end of it, we'll just do the rest tomorrow. It's not a big deal. Yeah. Well, let's see. I'm getting I have like hot flashes and my head is pounding, but let me see. I want to talk to you about this. So let's try.
So there's this huge controversy playing out right now because a dad had the cops called on him because he brought his young daughters into an empty women's bathroom at a rest stop. And the video around this, it's just gone viral with people on the internet absolutely losing their mind. Right, so the dad in question is a man by the name of Tyler Brodsky. And in the caption of his TikTok, which is around 16.7 million views as of recording, he explained that he went to a rest stop so that his daughters could go to the bathroom on a trip from Florida to Oklahoma. Writing, the women's restroom was empty, so I took them in. I'd rather do that than bring two little girls into a men's bathroom full of grown men in dirty stalls. Right, in the video, we see a woman later identified as the store's manager, Melissa, standing in the doorway of the bathroom with a man who's on the phone with the cops going totally ballistic while yelling that his wife and her elderly sick mother, they're waiting to use the bathroom while Tyler helps his daughters wash their hands as they're becoming increasingly upset and openly crying as the man just continues to shout.
I'm standing in the doorway of the ladies' bathroom. Okay? My wife, there is a man with his two little girls using the women's bathroom. She is waiting to use the restroom with her mother, who is very ill and who is on oxygen.
That's okay. Some of them are just immature.
Also, at one point, you have the man suggesting that Tyler should have had the store's manager, a complete stranger, help the daughters go to the bathroom.
And he's refusing, he's taking his sweet time.
I have two girls washing their hands.
You let this lady, this woman she's a woman. She can bring her daughters in here. She's a manager of the QT.
I'm their dad.
You can ask her, I understand. And you don't have any business bringing her into the women's bathroom.
They're girls. They go to the women's bathroom.
This is ridiculous, man. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
And so they leave the bathroom, and as they're walking out, we see the man again still on the phone with the cops, and that is when it seems like things might start to get physical.
Got a cross on the front in the gray shirt. You can video me, okay? And you got a
Don't put your
shirt
hands on me.
Yeah, well, stop videoing me.
Yeah, he
then.
just put his hands on me.
I touched you. I brushed you on the shirt.
That's still touching.
Yeah,
me.
that's
Don't
ridiculous.
Put your hands on me.
That's ridiculous.
I got it on video.
He's standing
this
here
guy making a
videoing
big
me.
deal about me taking my little girls
justifying what he's been
to the
doing.
women's restroom. Because he wants me to take them to the men's restroom.
I'm just standing here.
Probably a weirdo that wants to see them in there.
You have the video end with the man in the gray shirt saying that the cops are on their way. Right, but that is not where it ends because yesterday Tyler posted an update saying that just a few minutes after the man got off the phone, about 3 officers showed up.
One of the officers was talking to me and the man and explained that the situation wasn't as black and white as many people may think. And they pointed out that taking 2 little girls into the men's restroom could be viewed just as negatively as me being in the women's restroom with my girls. So, they try to make sense of it, try to understand both perspectives. But, ultimately there was really nothing that they could do. They did let me know that I was okay, that I didn't do anything wrong. So after speaking with everyone involved, the officers talked to Melissa and ultimately asked the man to leave the store.
You also had Tyler give it a big shout out to the manager, right? Melissa, thanking her for helping out in the situation and being so caring with his daughters. And he also thanked the responding officers for speaking with his daughters after this whole thing, reassuring them and ensuring that they felt safe and protected. And then you had Tyler going on to say that this whole incident, it brought something bigger to his attention, right? Saying that since his video went viral, thousands of people, they've reached out to him to share similar stories and dadding.
This isn't really about one argument in a gas station. It's about the fact that girl dads and boy moms are often put in a situation where there isn't a perfect answer. Most parents aren't trying to make anyone uncomfortable. We're simply trying to take care of our children and keep them safe. As a dad with 2 little girls, I made the decision that I felt was best in the moment.
And also Tyler, he says he doesn't want anyone to harass, threaten, or contact anyone involved. Right? Saying he just hopes that that man, he's gonna come across the post, realize what he did was wrong, and prevent him and others from doing something like this in the future. And you had him ending the video by asking other parents and caregivers what they would have done in this situation. And the response here has just been absolutely massive, really on TikTok and any other social platform. Right? And for the most part, you have a lot of people just agreeing with Tyler, saying that he was in the right and he was clearly trying to do what he thought was best for his young daughters, writing things like, the dad who took his daughters to the women's restroom but made sure there were no women inside of there before entering did exactly what he was supposed to do. If you can't respect a dad protecting his children, then something is really wrong with you. And you also had a ton of people sharing their own experiences with needing to take their kids into opposite gender bathrooms or seeing others do the same, right? Arguing that this is a very common shared experience. But also, that was not the universal response. You had plenty of other people taking the other side, or saying that it was inappropriate for him to be in the women's restroom.
Wait, I want to read these ones
because that was not the universal response. You had plenty of other people taking the other side, or saying that
men are only allowed in the male washroom. This guy should be arrested. The manager is right since the other woman can't use the restroom while he's inside it recording.
it was inappropriate for him to be in the women's.
In my opinion, he's weird for going to the women's bathroom as a grown man. Protocol before my girls were old enough to go by themselves was to come with me to the men's. Adults won't feel awkward about a child of any sex in their bathroom, but they probably would feel different about diff sex adult
restroom, that he should have just brought them into the
take the kids in the men's room so women don't have to wait like he's the center of the universe. A man's bathroom isn't a war zone where the kids will leave with PTSD when the father is there with them the whole time. Let's get real here.
Men's room with them. You also had others arguing that the guy who called the cops, he was just trying to stand up for a sick mother-in-law, with one user writing that he could have handled the situation better, but added, in fairness, he was trying to stand up for that old lady who didn't feel comfortable going in the bathroom with that man in there. That poor old lady probably has continence issues and can't hold it very long, and it's reasonable for her to feel a little weird about being in there with this much younger man. And so as we see this court of public opinion play out, I then got to pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? Right? If you were that dad, what would you do? And also, if you were that guy in the gray shirt, what would you do? But then also, since we're already talking about child safety, we then also have to talk about this disturbing trend with kids and AI.
Oop, nope, we're gonna watch that one. Okay, so I saw a comment that said, mothers with sons, women's restroom, mothers with daughters, women's restroom, fathers with sons, men's restroom, fathers with daughters, women's restroom. I hope that helps. And I was like, yeah, I think no situation needs to be black and white, and the situation can be very contextual. I've used the men's restroom a lot in my life as an adult woman, like a lot. Mostly because I'm not waiting in that line to pee. Okay, that line is 30 women in line. I always go into the men's restroom. I usually ask because I'm like, anybody in here? Can I pee in here? Because I'm not waiting. But I'll tell you this: bathrooms are disgusting. Period. Period. But men's restrooms are more disgusting. They are, with peace and love, I've never felt stickier floors in my life. Okay, a woman's restroom, I've never felt a sticky floor. I've seen period blood and shit everywhere and pee on the seat, and that's gross. That is gross. But I do think men's restrooms are more gross. I wouldn't want to take my kids into a men's restroom because I just think the vibe is weird. I don't know how to tell you guys this. You guys are gross. Women's restrooms are generally nicer. Even when they're messy, they're nicer. The feeling is nicer. Sometimes I wish my brother could come with me into the girls' restroom so he and I could have that. My gay brother especially, because the bathrooms are nicer. I hate that you're going into a boys' gross bathroom. But I would just say that I don't think he did anything wrong. I do think the older woman probably triggered something in the older man that made him feel like this is inappropriate. And the dad was a younger man. So I think there was probably a cultural bubble collide, which is a part of the problem. And I do think there was something that could have been said or communicated better. I don't know what the situation with the older woman was. We saw her in the wheelchair for a moment. But I do think that older man probably did think he was doing the right thing. The problem is like the road to hell is paved in good intentions and you have an attitude. So no gold star for you, but gold star for the dad for handling it well. I think he really did. And good gold star for the manager who was helpful. Because I do think in that situation, this is why we need younger people to talk to older people and older people to talk to younger people. Because imagine a bunch of parent millennials. Like, I don't know if you guys are having different experiences, but when I'm around millennial parents, it feels very gender inclusive. It feels just very different. Like everyone is so lax. We say things out loud to each other. Like it feels like when you have young parents in a room together, there's just more communication happening. But specifically like a certain type of millennial, I should say. Maybe I'm just privileged because of the group I'm with. But it feels like we could just talk to each other like, oh hey man, what's up? It's like, oh hey dude, my girl's gotta pee. Ah, bro, for sure, bro. Hold on, my grandma needs to go though. Like, so can we do something about that? And it's like, yeah, let me get the manager in here and she can watch the girls while she washes her hands or something. Like, you know, we could talk about it. But instead it was like the boomer aggression, the boomer, like, what are you know, the need to just escalate instead of like, oh, hey, bro, what's up? You know, instead of like, saying, hey, like, what's going on? Like, you see the little girls, you should be like, oh, like, your kids are, I get it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there was so much communication missing in this social situation. You know what I mean? Chess is Brit to give the older dude having a meltdown all the benefit of the doubt. Could he be concerned the dad may have been a pedophile attempting to assault little girls? Well, I don't know because I don't think so. Because hold on, let's see if we can. No, because there was enough communication. Like he should have stopped the moment he thought that was even possible. When the social situation was this, because look at the social situation.
Wash your hands.
So he's already on the phone with the cops. The manager's there. The dad is acting very calm. The little girls know him. There's no way he really thought. Hold on, let's.
The ladies' bathroom. Okay, my wife. There is a man with his two little girls using.
There is a man with his two little girls using the women's restroom.
The women's bathroom. She is waiting to use the restroom.
Oh, my wife is waiting to use the restroom, and she doesn't want to. Oh, so he's defending the honor of his wife. So they're probably very old, bigoted, conservative people. And they probably feel entitled to the space instead of being considerate of the little children. They feel like they matter more than the little girls, which is interesting. So this is why I say we have to center children in everything we do, because adults center themselves. Like, unless she was having a medical emergency, why wouldn't you center the children's needs above the adults? And this is, I think, one of the newer generational switches that we are making, is we are trying to say children matter more than adults in terms of care. We have to give kids safety. We have to signal safety to children. So, you know, the fact that he was like, my wife doesn't feel comfortable. Okay, now how do those little girls feel with you yelling at them?
With her mother, who is very ill.
With her mother, who is very ill. Oh, so now it's the old lady in the wheelchair isn't his wife, it's his mother-in-law. With my wife who needs to use the restroom with her mother-in-law who's very ill. Hear me out, Habibi. What's quicker? The cops getting in their car and coming all the way to that gas station to remove him? Or you waiting 30 goddamn seconds? What do you think is going to move this along faster, huh? Use every brain cell before you vote for Trump a fourth time, yeah?
And who is on oxygen?
It's okay.
And the kid is crying. So now his daughter's crying. Now she's weeping.
Immature.
Also, at one point, you have the man suggesting that Tyler
And then the father is like, he's immature. It's okay.
should have had the store's manager, a complete
Stupid.
stranger, help the daughters go to the bathroom.
And he's refusing. He's taking his sweet time.
I have two girls washing their hands.
You let this lady, this woman is she's a woman. She can bring her daughters in here. She's a manager of the QT.
I'm their
You
dad.
can ask her. I understand. And you don't have any business.
But this is why you need to deconstruct gender, because honestly, I would have peed with that man there. Like, you know, what do you need to, like, what is happening here? What is this old lady so afraid of this man for? Like, what is he going to do? Slip out in a camera while he's washing his girl's hands? I mean, maybe. But also, this is why we have to reconstruct society and talk about, like, what are you so afraid of? What do you think this man's going to do? You know what I mean? Like if the manager's in there talking to him while she's doing it, can you go while the manager's in there? Or maybe you're just embarrassed. Like I know some people are embarrassed. Okay, hear me out. Some people are embarrassed about the other gender of, even if they're not attracted to that person, another gender hearing them be private. So I wonder if this old lady is just embarrassed, which is valid, that a man is hearing her be vulnerable, which is fair, and I can be very deeply empathetic to this. I also think in reverse, men are very insecure about women hearing them pee, so they might be unable to pee because of their like anxiety. So I can be all of these things. I just feel like this man is not handling it well. There is so much empathy here. I can see so many nuance. I can see. But the way this man is handling it.
They're in the women's bathroom.
They're girls. They go to the women's bathroom.
This is ridiculous, man.
I am so sorry. It's so good.
So they leave the bathroom, and as they're walking out, we see the man again, still on the phone with the cops, and that is when it seems like things might start to get physical.
Got a cross on the front and a gray shirt. You can video me, okay? And you got a
Don't put your
shirt
hands on me.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so here's, I guess, the mother-in-law who needs the restroom, but see how he's out? That's it. It's over. Go use the restroom. What are you mad about? Why are you still on the phone with the cops?
Stop videoing me.
Yeah, he just put his hands on me.
I touched you. I brushed you on the shirt.
That's still touching me.
Yeah, that's
Don't put your
ridiculous.
hands on me.
That's ridiculous.
I got it on.
See, why are you still in the, see this, so whatever he's doing, whatever is psychologically happening, whatever his mindset is, whatever his belief is, it is reassured in this moment to still be on the phone with the cops instead of said, okay, he's out of the restroom, thanks. It's over. He left. Go use the restroom. So that makes me wonder, like, what is it? Now, here's my true conspiracy. Are you ready? I think he's transphobic. I think he's homophobic. And I think being conservative makes you paranoid. And so anytime you see something that doesn't match the gender expectation, you assume it's predatory because that's how you're conditioned as a conservative. My therapist thinks I got BPD growing up as a kid because of the way my parents talked about gay and trans people around me as a kid. I internalized as like, am I a bad person? If gay people are bad people, am I a bad person? And then it's like this whole loop that when older people get older and they become bigoted, they internalize that like, this thing isn't what I know, and because the script is, it must be, you know what I'm saying? And so that's what I think is happening. I think he's just, you know what, it makes you like, it makes you scared of everything. That's why I say don't do anything because you're afraid. Don't do anything because you're afraid or desperate. Because growing up conservative, that is, you know, Chad said, I don't think that's a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. I just said not for fun. But it's not a conspiracy. It's just probably more likely. But that's why I say don't do anything because you're afraid or because you're pressured or because you're desperate. You know? Because you will make the wrong decision. And especially if you grew up conservative, you will make the wrong decision. You know? So yeah.
Video.
He's standing
this
here
guy making a
videoing
big deal about me taking my little girls
justifying what he's been
to the
doing.
women's restroom. Because he wants me to take them to the men's restroom.
I'm just standing here.
Probably a weirdo that wants to see them in there.
You have the video end with a man in the gray shirt saying the cops are on their way.
See, like the cops are on their way. Like, again, all of the other things we could have used that money for, all the other things we could have done, you know? Just said, I thought the wife needs to use the restroom, not the mother-in-law. I think he says my wife, and then he goes, my mother-in-law, who's very sick, needs to use the restroom. I think that's what he says, but I can't tell. That's the problem. I don't know exactly who, but does it matter? The point is, why aren't those women communicating with him? Isn't that the other part of the gender dynamic? Why aren't the ladies communicating with the woman, Michelle, and why aren't they communicating with the dad? Why is the husband doing the work? Because it's probably like, oh, I'm the man, I'll handle it. But see how men handle shit? You see how men handle shit? Useless. Absolutely useless. What good was that? What good was that? You know, stupid. Just such a waste of time, such a waste of everybody's fucking time. You know what I mean? So, okay, you gotta lock in and try to be less bad every day. You have to see what it is, try to de-escalate situations, try to see that the world isn't out to get you, even though the world is a pretty fucked up place and it might be out to get you. There's a difference between the world's a dangerous place and everyone's out to get me. Okay? So just remember that. And look how much harm you can do for so these little girls, this is gonna be one of their core memories forever. That really sucks. I'm glad the internet was on the dad's side for the most part, because that gives me some sort of like reassurance that the world agrees that like, relax, it's not that deep. Okay? Be chill, bro. Be chill. All right, I think I have enough spoons for this next story. Let's try it. The The New Yorker put out this new investigative journalist interview about Andrew Tate's empire of abuse, and I didn't know what it really was, so I thought we could watch a couple of interviews with this lady. Let's check it out.
Heidi Blake, a staff writer I'm Heidi Blake, a staff writer at The New Yorker. For the past 9 months, I've been investigating the British-American influencer, Andrew Tate.
This was my life only 3 years ago. Private jets, Gulfstreams, flying around the world, doing whatever I wanted, very expensive cashmere overcoats. Then they threw me in jail, but they forgot I'm a fucking tough guy. It's almost like I thought I wasn't a tough guy.
Drawing on thousands of leaked files and scores of interviews, my investigation reveals how he got rich by building a sprawling empire of online exploitation, recruiting dozens of webcam workers into what he called sexual slavery.
Sharp sidekick from Andrew Tate is very, very dangerous with that shot.
Tate is a former kickboxer who appeared on the reality TV show Big Brother before rising to become the defining figure of the manosphere.
In the world we live in today, being a normal man, or below normal, is going to be terrible. Even to just find a woman you can reproduce with is becoming more and more difficult.
My story for The New Yorker charts the rise of Tate's online pornography empire from the recruitment of his very first webcam worker, a Slovakian teenager who moved to the UK to begin staging sex shows online when she was still a minor in 2014.
I think that's the one he calls his number 2. But you guys want to hear something crazy? Did you see this video leaked? This is insane. This is a video from his like war room on how to isolate women. Okay, so that's Justin Waller. Okay, here's Andrew Tate, and I don't know who this guy is, but this is like a video. It says leaked video. Andrew Tate teaches war room how to isolate women.
I'm very careful when I talk about this.
He says you have to be very careful, as I'm very careful when I talk about this.
I don't want to be autistic about it, right? But if you really
I don't want to be autistic about it.
truly solo up a chick, she's yours. When I say she's yours, I mean she's basically with you, her family, your family.
So he's basically explaining how like when you're with a girl, she's like only with you when she's with you. Her family, your family, he wants to isolate her from friends, connections, and he basically explains it. And this is why people said that this is just him, I think, talking about his romantic partners, but I think it plays into the romantic partners then turning into his cam workers, which is the boyfriend method, or the lover boy method, which is why people were trying to get him on sex trafficking, because what is this?
That's basically it, right? If she has like a really strong social circle and she really insists on seeing them, they're gonna have a big influence over her.
Can you guys hear the audio at all? Is it hard to hear? He's basically saying that when she has a group of friends, they'll have a big influence on her and they might convince her not to be with you.
And it is in your best interest to get her away from that social circle. So you're trying to solo her, right? You don't want her out, whoever, saying whoever. And then women can't shut the fuck up either. They'll talk your business, they'll give their side of the story only. You're a bad guy now. My husband wouldn't do that, even though the bitch is lying, just trying to flex. You know what I mean? It gets in their head, right? So you have to try and isolate her from those things. And the things we've talked about thus far, like selling a dream, adding excitement, her never catching you slipping.
So basically, he's just saying like, it's a secretly recorded video. So it's definitely not good audio. That's why there's subtitles on the screen, but I don't know if you guys can see them. But basically, they're just saying like, the bitch is lying. She'll try to slander you. The girls, when they talk, they turn against you.
All these things tie into isolating.
All these things tie into isolating her and taking her away from outside influences.
Taking her away from the outside influences. Every outside influence is your enemy.
Every outside influence is your enemy. All of it. There's certain hard rules, right?
Hard rules, right? We don't let your chick around.
You don't want to let your chick around. Hold on. You don't want to let your chick around.
So when it comes to sterling,
Let's see. Hold on.
there's certain hard rules, right? We don't let your chick around.
Oh, you don't want your chick hanging around dudes.
That's a hard rule. That's an obvious
Hard rule, obvious one.
She's gonna insist on that.
If she's gonna insist on hanging out around dudes, she's not really your chick.
Dude, she's not really your chick. She's everyone's chick.
She's everyone's chick, right?
Right? That's the person. She goes back down to Tristan's frame of hoe.
She goes back down to Tristan's frame of hoe.
Yeah, so from main chick, side chick, all the way back
So the main chick to side chick, all the way back down to the bottom hoe.
down to the bottom of hoe. And there are hoes. There's some chicks.
And there are hoes. There are some chicks I know who are just hoes.
They're just hoes. I got some chicks who are fucking 15 out of 10. They're beautiful. I bang them every time I see them. I know they do.
I know some girls who are 15 out of 10, beautiful. I bang them every time I see them. But I know they ain't got to do shit with shit but being hoes.
Being hoes. I don't know. I guess they're hoes. Hoes are hoes. Right? So you have to keep that frame in mind. But in terms of like isolating them from their friendship.
So in terms of isolating them from their friendship group,
it's not actually that
difficult to do.
Because women always talk about women.
Because women always talk about women being a mystery.
I will hard disagree with that.
I hard disagree on that. I think women will tell you anything you fucking want to know.
You saw Coast out. They can't shut the fuck up.
Okay, you get the idea, right? This is a long video. I'm not reading all this. Okay, but you get the idea? Okay, so now back to this.
The following year, Tate hastily left the UK after being accused of rape by 3 women and relocated to Romania, where he turned the webcam business into an industrial operation. Soon, he was bragging to associates that he had police and mafia connections that placed him above the law and systematically trawling social media for new recruits, often deliberately targeting teenage girls. Tate called his workers slaves, branded them with tattoos, and subjected them to harrowing violence.
Look at the camera. Why are you getting hit? Why are you getting beaten? Listen. You. Do as I say.
Tate and his younger brother Tristan had been under investigation on suspicion of human trafficking in Romania since 2022, when their heavily guarded compound outside Bucharest was raided by armed police. At the time of the raid, Andrew Tate was rapidly becoming one of the most famous men on the planet. He told alienated young men that they were the victims of a feminized society, and he urged them to get fit, get rich, and reclaim what he called their natural masculine imperative for power. Often, that imperative seemed to equate to sexual violence.
It's bang out machete, boom in her face, and you grip her up by the neck. Machete's on the floor, her panties are all wet. You go, fuck her. That's how it goes. Slap, slap, grab, choke, shut up, bitch, sex.
After his arrest, the files reveal how Tate compelled some of his alleged victims to record videos defending him, orchestrated a smear campaign against others, and allegedly bribed some to stay silent as he fought back against the case. But the brothers have strenuously denied any wrongdoing, insisting that they are the victims of a liberal smear campaign.
The liberals. Oh, yeah, the liberals. That's what I'm saying. Believe men when they tell you who they are. Because Andrew Tate and Tristan are saying this is all a joke. And I'm saying every joke has a little bit of a truth to it. Give or take the joke and give and take the people listening to the joke. So, you know, here he is. And I remember people asking me like, oh, is this BDSM? What is this? Even if it is BDSM, it's unethical BDSM. It doesn't matter. Like BDSM doesn't automatically mean it's consensual. You could have, just like sex doesn't mean it's consensual. You know what I mean? There's this like idea where people say, oh, well, we can't kink shame. Not all kinks are ethical. Not all kinks are consensual. You know, so it doesn't matter if you call it BDSM, which I know he's trying to hide behind. It doesn't matter what you call it. You know, oh, it's kinky sex. Okay, but again, not all kinky sex is consensual.
And right-wing allies, including Donald Trump Jr., Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, have branded the case a conspiracy.
Okay, this is what I mean about guilty by association. So you know how Basim and all these guys, they'll hang out with Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens because they'll say, oh, they're anti the genocide. Like, I'm confused about our decision making here. Like, are we really going to build bridges with people just because they're anti-genocide? Like, can't we say, good, be anti-genocide on your side. I don't know why I'm building a bridge with you. Can you be anti-genocide on that side? Like, why do we have to be friends now that you're anti-genocide? Why? I don't understand that. Because if you really cared about the genocide, we wouldn't have to be friends for you to be anti-genocide. It sounds like they're saying, if you're friends with us, we'll be anti-genocide. But if you're not friends with us, we won't be. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't understand why we have to make allyship with these people who support abusers and support, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand. And I don't think it makes sense. You can be anti-genocide over there because that's the ethical thing to do. That's the right thing to do. But we don't have to be friends and we don't have to collab and we don't have to make jokey with each other and pretend we're best friends. That shouldn't have to be a requirement of you being anti-genocide.
Donald Trump's election, Romanian prosecutors eventually gave in to US pressure to release the brothers from a travel ban.
Freedom at last.
And since then, the case appears to have stalled.
We have our passports back, and just like you, anyone else here decides to take a trip, they're allowed to take a trip. So all of these 3 years of imprisonment were a complete waste of time against innocent men who have never been tried.
So people hear this and they really run with it. They'll show up on my videos and they'll say, oh, Brittany, you know, it was bullshit. He's still under investigation, girls.
They're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty in a democracy. We have never been convicted of any crime anywhere on the planet, ever.
When I met Tate earlier this year at a cigar lounge in Bucharest, he assured me that the prosecution was doomed.
It's just garbage out of a corrupt country. No one's that dumb. Like, Human trafficking, okay, show me a victim, show me a hurt girl, show me a bruise, show me a girl.
This is reverse psychology. All of those things exist. All of them have been documented. There's video, audio, and visual proof of all of this.
Chained up. Show me something.
But I have pieced together an account of Tate's activities over more than a decade from hundreds of thousands of private messages, internal documents, sealed prosecutorial files, and court records, as well as interviews with the Tates, their associates, and more than a dozen alleged victims. You can read my story at newyorker.com.
Okay, now I want to go to this video where she's being interviewed. Heidi.
Now, a comprehensive report in The New Yorker investigates what writer Heidi Blake calls Andrew Tate's empire of abuse. Blake plumbed through reams of private messages and sealed court records detailing violent and disturbing allegations. Now, before I'm joined by Heidi, a warning, this conversation will contain descriptions of sexual violence, which may be difficult to hear. Heidi Blake, I want to welcome you to the program. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, in reading this investigation and just reading the details, I literally almost became physically ill just from reading it. And then I had to think about what the victims went through in terms of what they went through when this was going on, and then having to recount it not just to you, but to authorities as well. And you point out this is really, when it comes to Andrew Tate, you've documented it now, right? There are allegations of grooming, coercion, rape, trafficking, all kinds of abuse. And so much of it out there for anyone to see in plain sight. You know, this is ultimately a story about Andrew Tate, or is it really the institutions that have failed to stop him? Because, as I said, I was floored by everything you uncovered.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think in a lot of ways, this is a story about impunity and about how the Tate brothers have managed to, you know, after spending so many years systematically exploiting women and bragging about the way in which they've systematically exploited women to their many followers, are now managing to evade justice for those actions and to leverage their political connections, particularly on the right wing in America, to get away with it. And that was partly what excuse me, that was partly what prompted me to begin investigating this, was that, you know, last year in February, shortly after Donald Trump's re-election, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate were...
I'm trying to get into the story, but it's like you have to subscribe and pay like $1. With Peace and Love, why are we putting abuse stories behind paywalls? The same thing with the same thing happened with what's his name, which I ended up paying for to read the article. The professor whose podcast was really popular. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are we doing this? And by the way, Dr. K did go on that podcast. What's his name, guys? Help me out. And I was really annoyed with Dr. K for going on that podcast, but he kind of implied that his agency put him up for this podcast, and they did kind of like not get along. And I kind of wonder, like, what are we supposed to do about, you know, when you make a decision about whose podcast to go on and like who to send your message out to? This is the Hassan Piker issue as well. Why are you going on Charlemagne the God? Why are you going on The Breakfast Club when you know Charlemagne's like admitted to raping women? You know, whether or not he's Andrew Huberman, thank you. Like, why are you going on his podcast? But I think that, or radio show. But I think that's the problem we're having is this is like the biggest struggle I have. Is like, what's the difference between going on this evil person's platform to get their audience to hear you? And what's the difference between you now associating your goodwill and your reputation with this evil person? This is the difficult part of this all. I'm serious. Like, what are we supposed to do in the adult world, right? Yeah, Andrew Huberman, he serial cheated and deceived 5 different women, one of which he was doing IVF with. It was really horrible. It was just so layered. It was a really good article, but it didn't get the attention it really deserved because it was behind this paywall.
Freed from all travel restrictions in Romania, where they face very serious rape and human trafficking charges, and were allowed to travel the world freely. And since then have been proclaiming their innocence and declaring that the case against them is totally defunct and going nowhere. And that happened after the US applied pressure on Romania, and the prosecutors lifted those restrictions under a significant amount of pressure from the US. And so I really wanted to see what had the brothers done, and to dig as much as I possibly could into the evidence that I could find to document their actions over the past 10 years, and to try to give that context to people who are just hearing the brothers constantly declaring that there's no evidence at all.
And yet you point out that the Hertfordshire investigation in the UK is just one of many disturbing parts here. In 2014 and 2015, think about how long ago that was. 3 women, Hannah Price, Maya Navarro, and Amelia Walker, they went to British police alleging rape and strangulation by Andrew Tate. Now, he was arrested, but then ultimately the case collapsed. Prosecutors declined charges again in 2019. You know, where do you see it if police and prosecutors had properly investigated those early allegations, understanding where we are then as well in the Me Too development? Is it possible here that Andrew Tate never becomes the global figure that he is now?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. I think there's a strong case to make that if those 3 women had been taken seriously and properly listened to a decade ago, that Andrew Tate could have faced justice, could have been held accountable, and that perhaps other women would not have suffered in the way that they have in the years since then. And it is shocking the way in which that investigation was handled. You know, you had 3 women who all went to the police and made very similar allegations.
And by the way, within the legal framework, Andrew Tate has said with his full chest that he sleeps with 16-year-olds because it's, quote, legal. He says that all the time. Recently in interviews, he has said he is sleeping with 16-year-olds actively because it's legal. You know what I mean? We don't need the law to tell us what's happening. He is saying it. It doesn't matter if they convict him. He's saying it. That's what I'm saying about all these men. They keep telling us stories and we keep going, okay, so you're a predator. And they're like, they're not. What do you mean? Do the law find them guilty? Okay. And I'm saying it doesn't matter. They told us with their own mouth.
That they had been assaulted, raped, strangled by Andrew Tate. And that investigation was left to gather dust for 4 years. Almost nothing was done about it. The police left Andrew Tate's phone lying around the station and didn't download it properly, which meant important evidence became effectively unusable. And meanwhile, Andrew Tate, by his own admission, skipped the country and moved to Romania, a jurisdiction where he himself has said he is freer to continue behaving towards women in the way that he wishes to behave without facing any action from the authorities. And so, yeah, that is a really shocking example of the way that a failure to take rape allegations seriously by the police can have very far-reaching consequences.
Yeah. In fact, he says it loudly and proudly. Just in the last few days, Andrew Tate was sitting on a golf course just outside of Moscow, I point out, giving an interview in which he dismissed Romanian prosecutors and compared Romania's justice system to Zambia's, and argued that if he had actually hurt anyone, he wouldn't be a free man today. Listen.
Boo.
The Romanian state has the same level of judicial integrity as Zambia. So anything they say we can take with a large pinch of salt. Yeah. Do I know women? Yes, I'm a full-grown man. Do I know men? Of course. Do I know people? Yes, I'm a famous man. I know people. But if I had ever hurt anybody, especially with how hard they've tried to put me in jail, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
What strikes you about that?
This is such reverse psychology. This is literally reverse psychology. This is why Trump gets away with what he gets with it. And the worst part is people believe it. I think that's the worst part. And this is why I say you're responsible for the way that the world is, because you're the one who's allowing him to trick you. And I'm saying at some point you're at fault, not the victims, the listeners, the viewers, like to some extent, right? It depends on the circumstance. Okay. I don't want to black and white this, but ultimately we are all responsible for realizing, what is in front of us. And we have to be very careful, So, just this idea that all these men are literally telling us and they're getting, that's why I'm saying if Hassan Piker is truly a leftist and is truly not a misogynist, he cannot collab with these men. And if he's willing to collab with these men for the quote greater good, fuck the greater good, not worth it. What greater good is there? That's my question. What is this greater good we are fighting for if it requires us to build coalition with fucking evil people? Can you please make it make sense to me? And evil people who have not been held accountable. We're not talking about people in recovery. We're not talking about people who've been held accountable. We're not talking about people who used to be. We're talking about people who, you know what I'm saying? What is the point of this? Do you guys think this is worth it? Is this enough for you? I can't. Philosophically, I can't. The world is always the way that it is. For thousands of years, marginalized people have been fighting, have been begging for basic rights. Women have been begging for basic rights, right? And I'm just sitting here saying, like, I'm not interested in having to beg to be treated with dignity. Okay, so no. And so I will be very critical of all these men who collab together, who become rich together, who become millionaires together in collaboration, while the rest of us are waiting at the side and they keep telling us, trust me, I've got you too. I'm going to fight for you, bro.
Well, I think what strikes me about that is that Andrew Tate has been saying publicly for years that he moved to Romania specifically because it is a more lenient jurisdiction when it comes.
Exactly. Chet says, I mean, we're responsible, but another way, we're also victims of the system. No, we're both things. But at some point, you have got to be the adult in the room and recognize the way you contribute to the way the world is. Okay? Millions of people voted for Trump. Millions of them voted 3 times. Yes, they are victims of the system. And yes, they are also participating in that system in a way that is harmful to them and others. At some point, we are all responsible. Okay? So you can't blame the system alone. Again, the message you're sending to me, this is what I hear when I hear people say, like, well, I can't do it individually, it's the system. Okay, then I might as well kill myself. And I'm not exaggerating. The reason I wanted to kill myself my whole life is because the message I was receiving as a child is there's nothing to do. That there is no hope, there is no right answer, that bad people win, and there's nothing to do. So there is no reason to keep people from killing themselves. Because what are you offering them to stay alive for? Stay alive for a world that never changes. Stay alive for adults who never hold themselves accountable. Stay alive for parents who never heal. Stay alive for teachers who never get better. Stay alive for police officers that never get reformed. Stay alive for governments that never care. How dare you ask people to stay alive for absolutely fucking nothing? So no, there has to be a reason to stay alive. And the reason to stay alive is because it does matter. You can make a difference. And it starts with you. Because that's the thing you have control over is you. You only have control over yourself. You do not keep doing the right thing because the world will change. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And you changing matters. The world doesn't have to change for your life to matter. You matter. And you can change your life for the better. And therefore you can change your family's life for the better. And therefore you can change your community's life for the better. And therefore we can change the world for the better. Okay, we're not changing for the better because it's going to change literally the world. We're changing for the better because our life is our world and your world matters. Your family matters. Your life matters. Okay, so we have to, we got to send the right messages to people because otherwise, 15-year-old Brittany, all she's hearing is like, so the adults are going to do nothing and you're going to blame everybody else and nothing's going to get fixed. I'm out. And I don't blame 15-year-old Brittany because that was the message she was getting from adults. Adults were saying that to her. And that's what I keep hearing from adults now. Well, we can't do anything. I can't go to therapy. I shouldn't have to go to therapy. The system is broken. You need to go to therapy and you need to fight the system. You got to do both.
Comes to crimes against women. And he's openly said Romania is a corrupt country and I can use that corruption to my own advantage and that's why I want to be here. He's declared for years that he's above the law in Romania. I think it took him very much by surprise when the Romanian authorities did bring this human trafficking case against him. But now, of course, he's turning that argument on its head and saying it's a corrupt country and shouldn't be taken seriously. The fact is that there's a rape and human trafficking investigation into both the Tate brothers in the United Kingdom as well. They are wanted on 21 combined counts of rape and human trafficking in Britain. And they are not being extradited at the moment from Romania because the Romanian court has ruled they can't be until the Romanian prosecution has run its course. Now, I obtained private messages in which the Tate brothers said to each other and to their advisors that they were effectively being protected by Romania from having to go and face justice in Britain. And so I think Andrew Tate sort of plays the system the way it suits him at any given time. But I think there are very, very serious allegations for him to answer in multiple jurisdictions.
What you're saying, though, is so shocking because despite all the documented evidence, the investigations, and you say there are still these allegations out there, these investigations out there, he's still broadcasting. We just saw him, right? He's still traveling. He's still growing his audience. And I want to point out, he's still making money from the likes of Apple and YouTube. What does that tell you about power and impunity online here?
Yeah, it's extraordinary to me that brothers are allowed to continue traveling, continue expanding their reach, continue making money, given the gravity of the allegations against them. That was a big part of why I wanted to dig into this investigation in the first place, to understand how that could be. I think
that's what I mean. All of these men become rich at the expense of all of us, and they use all these women to become rich. I mean, I don't know how many times I've highlighted Andrew Tate talking about taking men's life savings, and I don't see men up in arms about men stealing from men. They're all busy. They're all mad at these OnlyFans girls from taking men's life savings when men are literally saying they're using these women to do just that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not mad at women who take advantage of men. You're mad at women. Because if you were mad at them for taking advantage of men, you'd be mad at Andrew Tate. But instead, you worship him. You follow all of these men. You like all of these red pillars while hating on women. And that's why I say it's misogyny. It's not about justice. It's not about helping young men. It's about hating women. That's why they blame feminism for everything.
Have very assiduously courted a number of powerful allies on the right, in particular Elon Musk, who is someone who has come out and declared the case against them bogus and said that, you know, they're the targets of some sort of liberal smear campaign to distract from actual sex trafficking. And, you know, there are other major allies as well. Donald Trump Jr. is another person, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all of these very prominent figures on the right in America have come out to defend the brothers and to defend their right to continue broadcasting and saying whatever they like. But, you know, when I met Andrew Tate at a cigar lounge in Bucharest this spring, he said to me something which has become quite a familiar argument of his, which is, you know, if I'm a human trafficker, show me a victim. Why are there no victims speaking out? Well, I went out and spoke to more than a dozen women who, you know, say that who are alleged victims of the Tate brothers. I gathered accounts from many more victims in the form of witness statements and other documentation. There are a lot of women who feel that they were very seriously victimized by these two men, and they kind of come up with any number of different arguments to try to bat those charges away. But the fact remains, the evidence against them is voluminous, and, you know, they have a lot to answer for.
So Heidi, you just mentioned you did sit down with him. I mean, why did you decide to sit down with him, and what most surprised you about your encounter?
Well, I thought it was really important to try to understand Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate, his brother, and understand where they're coming from and their psychology. And
well, I mean, if you look at their story, they really have a, hear me out, they have a very DeFlamingo story. Except there's no good brother who's secretly doing something good. I don't want to give away spoilers. But there's no, like, DeFlamingo story. Like, there is a DeFlamingo. There's two brothers who grew up really fucked up. Their dad abandoned their family to go be a famous chess player. Their mom tried to raise them in a not so great neighborhood. They didn't have any money, so they became kickboxers. And then that only went so far because he was a professional kickboxer. And then he did sex trafficking because, you know, and he became a gangster because, you know, and they were brothers who went to jail together, and they lean on each other, and they have the perfect anime villain story. And that's the point. It's like, who are you in the story? You're the villains. And you're exactly the kind of, this is why I say, like, you raise your children well with the hopes that they don't become, not with the guarantee. But everything went wrong for these two little boys. And so for Andrew and Tristan Tate as children, my heart goes out to them, right? It does go out to them. My heart is weeping for them. They're adults now, though. Yeah. So, like, it doesn't, you know, I'm sorry, but also you can't hurt other people at the rate you're hurting people. But it's an entitlement too. DeFlamingo too was this way as a child. He was entitled and spoiled. And Andrew Tate gives exactly that. Entitled and spoiled. I don't know how young it started. Again, empathetic to little baby Andrew Tate. But adult Andrew Tate, absolutely not. Young Andrew Tate, absolutely not. The Andrew Tate who got kicked off Big Brother, absolutely not. The Andrew Tate who had rape accusations against him early on, absolutely not. And I just think there's a lot there. You know, they have this romantic brother love that they tell each other about, you know, just the interviews from prison or getting out of prison, you know, a lot of that. And it's romanticized for men because men are like, yeah, this is intimacy. Like for men, they're brothers. That's it. Like their love for their brothers, even though they don't have true intimacy with them necessarily, they have a type of intimacy that cannot be spoken about because they went through something together. You act like girls don't go through things together. You act like you're the only group of people that go through things together, okay? A lot of us are going through things together, and it doesn't need to involve sex trafficking.
Also to give them a fair chance to genuinely tell me their side of this. I really wanted to hear them out, and I spent a huge amount of time with Tristan in particular, who did give me a lot of his time, both on the phone and in person, and about an hour with Andrew talking to him about all of this. And what really struck me in the meeting with Andrew was that he lied very brazenly about the nature of his webcam operation. You know, not only did he tell me that he's not a misogynist and has never said anything that designed to denigrate women, which is plainly untrue if you look at his many online pronouncements over many years. He also said to me that his webcam business had been closed for 10 years at the point that he was raided by Romanian police, which is demonstrably totally untrue. That's actually, you know, before it even was established. He's saying it was closed before it even began. So, you know, I was struck that he could look me straight in the eye and tell me these.
Oh, and just remember, the stories I've heard Andrew Tate talk about his mother who raised him, she's always second to his father that was the hero. The father that left, by the way, the father that wasn't even around, he goes, oh, my mother was like kind of a bitch, and that's why my father had to leave, you know, women, but my mom raised us. Another typical story of a mother raising her sons only to have her sons grow up and look at their mother as, yes, I love my mother no matter what, but she's not as cool as my dad who left. My dad who left, he's so cool. And I get that's your childhood trauma. I know a lot of adult kids, they go through that stage of, connecting with their fathers that were not there. It's very devastating, but it is a pattern that's very typical. That's what I say, guys, we might be unique, but we're not special. Nothing about your story is special, but you are still unique. You are still you. You are still one of a kind, but you're not special, Habibi. You and millions of other people have the same fucking story, the same childhood, the same father, the same mother, the same story, the same siblings. Okay. You are not so unique. So take, sort of like reassurance that you can get better and heal because you're not alone in this. You're not alone in this. But if you don't know who you are in the story and you don't recognize you're the villain, you know what I mean?
Bare-faced lies.
And yet,
and I think you see that happening, in the interview clip that you just played.
And so in sitting down with him, though, did you come to understand why he has had such an influence in the manosphere globally?
I think that he is quite adept at sort of donning a different skin suit depending on who he's talking to. So in the conversation with me, he was careful to be respectful of women and to say that he's not a misogynist. And, he was a very different character than the character you see online. I think I got a better understanding of the way in which he's built such an enormous audience online from kind of studying his methodology.
Well, he built, guys, please hear me when I say this. The reason Andrew Tate rose to prominence is because of clip farming. When Andrew Tate first hit the scene, I literally said to stream, we don't have to worry about this guy. No one's going to fall for it. Oops. I forgot how stupid everybody is. Because I literally was like, just ignore him. But he clip farmed. He got all his fans to clip farm. People made fan videos. That's why parasocial relationships between creators is pushed. That's why I look at Hassan Piker with a raised eyebrow, because that's how Hassan stays relevant. Hassan has the same methodology. He has his clip channels, his TikTok fan cams. He has all these people. That's what I'm saying. Don't you see the pattern of what builds the parasociality of fame and celebrity? I don't understand why we're not paying attention to it. And it's because, listen, you think I couldn't do this? You think I couldn't weaponize my audience? You think I couldn't say, hey, who wants to make money off my clips? You think I couldn't sit there and beg you guys? Like, you think there isn't going to be one autistic girly in the audience who loves to edit? Who could literally be free labor for me and start posting my shit? Like, look, if you guys make an edit on your own because you feel like it, great. But I could weaponize it. I'm saying I could literally beg you to do this, and 10 of you would do it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying don't do it because you shouldn't work for free. Okay? Sometimes people clip me for fun, and that's okay. But I don't want you to do it because you want my attention. And I don't want you to do it because you think I'll pick you. And I don't want you to do it because you think, you know what I mean? I'm saying it's interesting to see all these people play into these things, but that's what keeps people famous. I mean, that WWE girl, I would never have known who she was without fan cams. The black-haired one with the muscles, the mommy muscles, I wouldn't even known who she was without those fan cams. And those fan cams in the clips, that's what it is. So I'm telling you, like, that's how Andrew Tate rose to prominence. It's how all these streamer bros stay relevant. You know what I mean? It is how they stay relevant. They actually pay clippers. I get emails all the time from clipping companies saying, Britt, nobody's clipping your content. Should they clip your content? And I'm like, leave me alone. Like, let me live my life. Also, it's the way to be famous. Guys, I don't want to be famous. So that's the problem. That's how you become famous. I don't want to be famous. I just want to make a living. I don't want to be a celebrity. I don't want to be famous. So don't, you know what I mean? I don't hire clip farmers and stuff because, like, you know, I don't do that. But again, like, it's not like I'm mad at my fans for making clips of when I really make a great video or I really say something really enlightened, you know, whoa, clip me. You know what I'm saying? But I don't need dedicated people spending their whole pastime. Not in this economy, girl. Go get a job. You know what I mean? So anyways, all of this to say, Andrew Tate did it on purpose. Everything is on purpose. All these boys are, this is what I call capitalism. He might not own the means of production in the way that you think, but though that's up for, obviously you would say he does, depending on who you are. But he is thinking like a capitalist. How do I get my brand everywhere? How does everyone see my company? How does my brand become a household name? Boom, capitalism.
Over the years, I think there was a really crucial moment.
No, chat says, don't you want your message to reach as many people as possible? No, we're all going to die and we're living on a planet. I want it to reach as many of the people that it needs to reach. And then I want to die. And I want everyone to forget I exist. No, I don't want my message to reach as many people as possible. I want my message to reach the right people, and then I want to die.
In 2022, when he devised a really ingenious way of expanding his global following, which was to establish something called Hustlers University, which was an online school that purported to teach modern wealth creation methods.
Ooh, my brother bought it so we could look at it. It's bullshit. There, I spoiled it.
But which actually functioned as a sort of gigantic content factory for Andrew Tate, because it had this affiliate marketing program in which members could earn commissions by clipping up Andrew Tate's videos and
Didn't I just say it? Didn't I just say it?
Posting them. And so suddenly he had members could earn commissions by clipping up Andrew Tate's videos and reposting them. And so suddenly he had thousands and thousands of fan accounts churning out his content.
Oh. I know this world. I know it so fucking well. It feels like I pre-watched, girl. But if you know the bubbles, watch all of these men with an eye, bro. Watch all of these men with an eye. All of them are capitalists. That's why I look at Hassan with such a fucking side eye, because I'm like, you're playing exactly all the same fucking games. I didn't pre-watch, girly. It's just the way the bubble works.
Day in, day out, and pumping it into algorithms that are primed to amplify misogynistic and extreme ideas. And so that summer of 2022, Andrew Tate's content exploded. It was viewed more than 12 billion times on TikTok alone that summer. And he just became this global force. And that happened to coincide pretty closely with the human trafficking investigation. He was arrested at the end of that year.
Right.
And so I think that kind of fed into why there were so many figures on the right who were prepared to stand up and say that he was being targeted by political smear campaign.
Heidi, we only have about a minute left. And in that time, could you really put the focus for us on the women, the victims that you have met? Because they have been harassed, threatened, discredited. Do they have a hope that the Tates will finally be accountable?
Well, I think there are a lot of women who showed an extraordinary amount of courage in trying to bring Andrew and Tristan Tate's actions to the attention of the authorities. There are a group of 4 women in the United Kingdom who are bringing a civil case against Andrew Tate for rape and sexual assault. And they have been a real driving force in holding the authorities here to account and making sure that this investigation stays on the agenda. There are also women who have very bravely testified to the Romanian authorities and are strongly continuing to seek justice there. And I think it's so important that those women's voices are heard. There are a community of women in multiple different countries describing an extremely similar pattern of conduct, grooming, coercion, extremely similar sexual assaults on the part of Andrew and Tristan Tate, and I think their voices need to be heard.
You certainly have distilled their suffering, quite frankly, in a very disturbing way, which brings a whole new light to this case. Heidi Blake, we want to thank you for joining the program.
Wow, amazing job. Well done. Heidi Blake. The Abuse or the Empire of Abuse, Andrew Tate. Wow. Wow. There you go. The New Yorker. Man, I wish it wasn't behind a paywall so I could read it. It is what it is, though. What are you going to do? Guys, I think that's all today. I'm out of spoon, so we'll have to do what I plan to do today, tomorrow. Sorry about that. I have a little bit of a headache. But I just want to say that I want to remind you that you matter. Your existence is important. You might not be special, but you're unique. And I'll never know anyone like you. And I'm so glad to have met you. And I hope the rest of your day is wonderful. I hope you get all the water you need to drink today drunk. I hope you sleep well tonight. And I hope you take care of yourself, because this system is broken, and we got to do whatever we can to fix it. And that includes working on ourselves. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks for being here. I'll see you tomorrow for Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. If I call out sick, happy Juneteenth, but I shouldn't. I should be here tomorrow. I've just been dealing with chronic headaches for the last couple of weeks. It's okay. I'll be back tomorrow. Happy Juneteenth. Thank you for being here. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.